Xfinity makes getting connected simple with same-day Wi-Fi so you can get online in minutes. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Use of fiber or coaxial cable. Learn more.
Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome back to a Monday edition of the Sports Bash live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there. Well, Phil's took it on the chin this weekend from the Metropolitans. What's the bigger picture from that series? We'll discuss as the Dodgers are in town. Big one with the Dodgers. We'll discuss it all. Fun show today. What is the biggest need for the Phillies? I think it really starts to come into play now. You watched them against an inferior opponent this weekend, and you saw some of the problems that they have. So what are they? Let's try to pinpoint what the actual biggest issues are and then how they can try to tackle them. I'm open to everything and all suggestions out there. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. The Braves have kind of settled in here. They are 5-5 in their last 10. The Phillies are 5-5 in their last 10. So the Phillies are 3 back after the weekend. Now they'll play the Dodgers. Dodgers 63-37, best record in all of baseball. And that's impressive considering, yes, I know they spend a boatload of money, but they've got a lot of injury issues as well. This team is nowhere near full strength. They have a plus 155. I said that correctly. Plus 155 run differential. Their entire division has a negative run differential, and they have a plus 155. But the Phillies, you go after the All-Star break. You are on this long road trip after the All-Star break. And then you come home and you play the team that is in last place in your division. And in the 2 losses, you mustered up a impressive 2 runs. 1 run on Friday night, 1 run on Sunday afternoon. Now, on Saturday, they happened to score 6 runs to take game 2 of the series. But it's the same old story and the same old song and dance. The number 5 starter, tattooed. The offense, not existent. But I don't even know that those are the top 2 things on the list of things that you have to try to fix. So let's try to figure it out. Let's talk about this. Because I have a lot of thoughts on where the Phillies need to go, try to go, how they could possibly do this. But one thing for certain is this. The story that from the weekend for me, everybody keeps talking about this number 5 starter and your record in the number 5 starter games. If you want to win the division, you got to fix that. You can't have a loss every single time the number 5 starter pitches, and that's essentially what's happening this year. If the number 5 starter pitches, you lose the game. Can't happen. The Aaron Nola games, you're winning. It's like a 50-50 coin flip, which is as I said before, Nola's been serviceable. He's nothing special. You're hoping that you don't have to use him in a big playoff game. But can you get through the rest of this regular season with Aaron Nola? Most likely, yes. I mean, forget most likely, yes. The answer is yes. You're going to have to. He's not going anywhere. But the fifth starter, you do have to try to figure out what you're going to do with that. You cannot keep throwing him out there, Alan Rangel. The Phillies have not won a game with their fifth starter since May 18th, by the way. Was the last time, literally, it was the last time that the Phillies won a game with their number 5 starter. But the interesting part here is when the Phillies' top 3 starters pitch, they're every bit as good as everybody in the league. You know, that's the thing. So you take that away. When those 3 guys pitch, Sanchez, Wheeler, Luzardo, when those 3 guys pitch for you, how much better of a team you are in terms of the big picture. And that is something that we need to recall or keep at the top of our minds here. So if we're looking at how do I fix this team, let's try to forget, if we can, the number 5 starter, okay? Because that guy's he's not even making the roster. So whoever that guy is, he's not making the roster. Okay, fine. The number 4 starter, I think Nola will probably be on the roster because he probably has to pitch one of the NLCS games and one of the World Series games if you happen to make it that far. Can you upgrade that spot? You could. You could try. I'm not saying don't. But the number 5 thing, I saw so much about that this weekend, about the record of the team when the number 5 starter pitches. That is important if you are focused on trying to win the division. And you should be, by the way. You definitely should be focused on trying to win the division. And we explained why, but I'll rekindle that. You do not want to play the Cubs in the first round of the playoffs in a wild card series. The Cubs have all left-handed starters that you could face, and that would be a disaster for you. So you do not want that matchup. That being said, I don't know that you can say getting a number 5 starter so that you avoid the Cubs in the wild card is how you approach this trade deadline. So I think that possibly goes a little bit lower down the list of things for me. Now, unless you go out and get a pitcher that is going to move Luzardo back a little bit. Not someone to pitch behind Luzardo or Nola, but someone that will pitch in front of Luzardo and make Luzardo your number 4 option. Okay, now you've opened my eyes a little bit. You perked my ears up a little bit because we know that Philly starters, the top 3, when those guys pitch, I forget what I saw their record is, but it's like some ridiculous number what the Phillies record is when those 3 guys pitch. So it was like the top 3, their record, and then Nola's record, and then the 5 starters record, which is, what are they, 1 in 15 days where the number 5 pitcher throws. But if I can get an upgrade over Luzardo, I'd take that chance. But it's not number 1 on my list. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. This weekend, I scored a whopping 2 runs and losses. And the game yesterday, what ends up happening? Nolan McLean pitches, who's been brutal this year. Nolan McLean has stunk this year for the most part. Now, he's gotten better recently, but he hasn't been. But against the Phillies, he turns into Cy Young every single time. 6 innings, 2 hits, 10 strikeouts. I mean, this kid absolutely dominates you every single time he throws. You had 1 run against the Mets. You had 4 hits the other day. You had 1 run today, Sunday, with 6 hits. And we could sit here and say, you got to get more offense. Sure, you can go find this quote-unquote right-handed bat. I don't know where you're going to get that guy, but it's not going to be Mike Trout, and it's not going to be Byron Buxton. So if it's not one of those guys, does the right-handed bat come here and change this lineup? Or do you just kind of go into the playoffs hoping that Turner turns it around and Schwarber and Harper are all going at the same time? Notice I didn't put Marsh in that category either because Marsh is starting to slip a little bit. He's actually under 300 now for Brandon Marsh. you wonder if now the overexposed nature of Marsh starting to get a little bit. Is he starting to get a little overexposed in a high-profile role is what I guess you could look at. He's down to 293, 332 on base. 332 on base. It's actually lower than his on-base percentage last year. So you're starting to see a guy that you wonder if the league is starting to figure out a little bit more here. So you've got to find more offense because, as I've said all season long, you can't count on Brandon Marsh to be the first half. Now, kudos to him. He was awesome. And by the way, somewhat saved their season. But you can't depend on Brandon Marsh to be your second or third best hitter. So they got to figure something out there. And then there's the bullpen. With the news at Keller, they made the news today, the decision today, I should say. They're calling up Alex McFarland, and he will be with the team tonight. And I don't know. Some people think this is just kind of a short-term thing. I think this is a quick trial to see between now and the trade deadline if Alex McFarland can be a part of their bullpen so that maybe that's one less thing they have to try to figure out at the trade deadline. If we get this kid and he comes up and he performs between now and August 3rd, maybe that's one less bullpen arm that we need. And I still think they need another one because they got to get an eighth inning guy. And I don't know that McFarland's ready to take on that role. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. So let us know on the White Horse RV text board. What are you guys kind of ranking as the biggest need after watching this weekend's games? I know it was an ugly weekend for the most part. They won the game on Saturday. Luzardo was great in the game on Saturday. But my takeaway is kind of the offense lacks. The bullpen, I still think, is something because if you look back to the game that Luzardo pitched, now Schwarber and Turner on Saturday, Schwarber hits the home run. Turner hits the home run, and that was all you really needed because they only got one run because obviously Luzardo was outstanding. So you go back to the Wind, that's the kind of game that the Phillies, he was the only guy, Luzardo, of the guys that we're talking about. What's the record of this team when they have Luzardo, Sanchez, and Wheeler pitching?
So the full records I went to, this is from MLB.com's Taj Alecki. The Phillies are 5-20 when someone not named Sanchez, Wheeler, Luzardo, or Nola start a game this year. The combined ERA is 7.33. In those 25 games, the Phillies bullpen has thrown 122 and 2/3 innings. That is 35% of the innings the team has thrown this year is those 25 games.
Yeah. So that's why I look at the series. The one game that Luzardo, one of the three guys we're talking about, he pitched, you won. The other two games you lost.
Right. And
that's been the microcosm of the season for the most part. So it says, obviously they lost the game Friday night. That was the Nola game.
And by the way, they didn't lose because of Nola.
No, Thursday
either.
night. That was Thursday night. They didn't play
Thursday night. Yeah, but so my thing is that they actually could have won the last three games that Nola's pitched if the offense. But
this goes to part of the conversation. Nola was fine. He pitched 6 innings. He gave up three runs. That's a quote unquote quality start.
Mike, he's given you 3 straight starts, 7 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 runs, 3. You should win those games.
Right. Now we go to the bullpen. And why do you need bullpen help? Well, Nola in that game gave up 3. You only scored 1. So essentially he did take the loss in that game.
Right.
Now you should say, yes, I'm hoping that I can score more than 3 runs. But Seth Johnson came in. He threw 2 innings. He gave up a run in that game. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but the bullpen just is not good enough. But again, Nola pitched, you lost. Rangel pitched, you lost. But I still think that the starting situation is probably third on the list of things. Unless you want to beef up your starting pitching to another level, I'm okay with that as well.
I think it just depends on the age-old question. What do other teams think of the Phillies assets. Like, are you calling up Alex McFarland not just because you need another arm, but because are you trying to boost his value around the league?
That's a tough one because I think one of the hypothesis is why hasn't McFarland been sent up to AAA yet? And as Jeff Kerr has pointed out many times, he thinks they've left him down at AA so that he keeps dominating that level so that his trade value gets higher. In other words, he's so dominant there, it makes him look so much better. Possible. Well, he's been called up here. Is this just for one day? He has been called up in the past. He got called up in April for one day, and he never pitched.
Right.
They sent him right back down. This time, is he up for one day because the bullpen needs a little bit of relief and they just need somebody? Or is he legitimately here to see if he can help this bullpen out? I don't know how to I don't know. And we're going to talk with McGarry. We got a busy Philly show today. McGarry at 2:30 as normal on a Monday. Tim Kelly from On Pattison. He covers the Phillies for On Pattison and Bleacher Report. He's going to join me at 3:00 and kind of get some thoughts on this whole trade situation because I don't know what to think of the McFarland thing. He has been recalled officially. It just got sent to my email just a couple minutes ago, but that has been rumored all day long that McFarland would be here. Now, at AA Reading, he is the co-minor league pitcher of the month for May. He averaged 10.9 strikeouts per 9 in 79 minor league games. However, this year, that number's up to over 12 strikeouts per 9. So far in 32 relief appearances. Now, McFarland's been with the organization for a while. He was a starting pitcher before. They moved him to the bullpen this year.
After the arm injury.
He is 1-1, 12 saves, 2.06 ERA. He's only given up 8 runs in 35 innings this year. He has 47 strikeouts in 35 innings, and opponents are hitting just 187 against him. So those all sound amazing. But we talked about this last week. You go to a guy like Seth Johnson, his minor league numbers are off the board. So take them with a grain of salt, as anybody who knows anything about baseball will tell you. You take the minor league numbers with a grain of salt here. You know, you can't say, well, he's doing that there. Look, what's he going to do at the big league level? Those numbers aren't generally going to translate to similar. He might come up here and be a sixth inning guy. Well, in the minors, he's closing games out, which means he's pitching in high leverage situations. Well, here, he might not be pitching in high leverage situations. How does that change everything? So I'm very interested to see, is McFarland up here to show the Phillies something or just to hold a seat until they figure out what they want to do? And I'm not sure what the answer to that question is. Everybody seems to be kind of mixed on that. Whether or not he's just kind of keeping the seat warm for what they want to do. Now, Rangel is the guy who got sent down. So what happens when his spot in the rotation comes back up? Do they try somebody else? Do they call him back up? Because right now, okay, the pitching matchups for this series are Sanchez, Wheeler, Nola, then Luzardo. Rangel is scheduled to pitch on Saturday, and he is the announced starter for Saturday at this moment. Do they take him out? Do they go and bring Painter back? Painter, keep in mind, his last start for AAA Lehigh was a disaster. He hasn't pitched since. I mean, it's almost like he's out of sight, out of mind. So I can't imagine that he mysteriously returns for that pitch, for that start on the 25th. I don't think they even have another option. I mean, I don't even think I could give you a name other than Rangel. Now, you could go with a bullpen game. You can go that route and just say, hey, we're going to try to get through. But you can't bullpen game your way the rest of the season every time the number 5 spot in the rotation comes up. Now, you could say, listen, we'll go with a bullpen game when the number 5 spot comes up because our next 2 starters, Sanchez and Wheeler, we generally don't have to dip into the bullpen all that much. So I guess you could possibly go down that road. But do you really want to tax your bullpen every 5th day where you're starting guys from the first inning and needing bullpen arms all the way through, and then you're calling guys up, sending them back, this guy's up for a day, sending him back, calling someone different up. The Chase Sugar to the world are up here. Seth Johnson's up here. I don't think that's a recipe for much success. So we'll take it with a grain of salt with what they did with McFarland. If I'm the Phillies, I'm telling the young kid, yo, impress us. Go win a spot. Go show us that we don't have to add another bullpen arm. Maybe we still have to add one, but maybe we don't need two. That's the way, if I'm the Phillies, that's the way I'm approaching it.
And then behind the scenes, you say, if he pitches well, we could trade him.
Yeah. Yes, it depends. What are you trying to get if you're trading him? Because you need a bullpen arm.
Well, you mentioned, like, do you consider getting like a high leverage 8th inning guy, right?
Right, but is he going to net you that?
Could he be the guy that gets you that arm?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that, because he is one of those guys. He's 25 years old too. So if another team is giving you one of those, they're taking him back in return. It's almost like, well, we'll take your 25-year-old high leverage guy for our high leverage guy. Doesn't seem like that's the piece that you would use to get a high leverage guy.
I mean, maybe not. I'm just trying to think of, this team needs something as a proven commodity at this point.
Yeah.
They've been playing roulette too much with what ifs and hopes and dreams at this point.
Yeah, no, listen, I think McFarland probably should be looked at to see if he could be a guy that could pitch in the 6th inning or 7th inning, not be your new high leverage 8th inning guy. The problem is you still need that 8th inning high leverage guy, but you also still need that 6th and 7th inning guy, because I don't think that you have enough right now.
True.
And you have Jonathan Bolin. I don't think the Phillies look at him as a setup man.
No.
I don't think that Orion Kirkering can be trusted. As much as I like his stuff, and I've been a big fan of his over the years, I don't trust him pitching the 8th inning of a National League championship game. I would much rather see him come in the 6th inning or 7th inning. And now you have McFarland. If he shows that he can handle it, you would have 3 options of guys to pitch in that 6th and 7th inning in those spots in a game. Now, you still need a high leverage 8th inning guy. I don't know that you have a player in your organization that could fetch that for you.
No, they don't. And it goes back to the question we were just talking about, which is, do the Phillies have the assets to get all the pieces they need? They probably don't. So either they address one or two of those needs, there's going to be one other hole unaddressed.
Garrigan Galloway texting in on the White Horse RV text board. He says, hitting is the biggest problem. It has been for years. Bats die every year in the playoffs. You're not wrong about that. But Garrick, I would also say, on top of the bats dying, their bullpen has been a problem. The bullpen for them has been a problem for them over the last couple of, that was supposed to be a strength of yours the last couple of years. And every single time you went into the playoffs, Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strahm, and look how much deeper they were all-stars this year. And then those guys were the guys that let you down. Now, you could also say they didn't score enough runs, but the games were always either tied or close when you got to the bullpen. Their bullpen did the job and yours did not, which if your bullpen does the job, there's not as much pressure on your offense to keep scoring. It only needs 1 run as opposed to
3,
getting, if the game's 2-2 in the 6th, hey, can I win the game 3-2? Instead, your bullpen keeps falling apart, and now you're down 4-2. And now you're trying to come from behind. It's a lot different than if you're 2-2 and your bullpen keeps the game 2-2, 2-2 in the 7th, 2-2, 2-2 in the 8th, 2-2, 2-2 in the 9th, and now you only need 1 lightning in the bottle.
You keep saying 2-2 here, 2-2 there. I keep thinking of Tutu Atwell now.
Tutu Atwell, nice receiver. We're almost into football season. The Phillies, of course, taking the headlines today. The countdown to Eagles training camp is on. Sports Bat will have all. We got football at 4 today. Massive day in Philadelphia sports. Phillies drop a key series to the Mets. What is their biggest need and underlining issues as the trade deadline approaches? Plus, you got the Dodgers series coming up this weekend and the Yankees this week, I should say. The LeBron-to-Philly watch continues, and our Eagles countdown to training camp. Text the show, 603-0973. Drop your comments either on the White Horse RV text board. If you're watching on YouTube or on the Facebook page, you can watch on the 97.3 ESPN Facebook page. All right, busy show. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Tim Kelly from on Pattison. Phillies Fastball tonight. Plus Nuggets. Do you remember the unsportsmanlike moment of the day? Football at 4. Don't forget, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a show. We kicking it off now. More Sports Bash next on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Over at pressofatlanticcity.com, ask the question, can the Phillies trust Alan Rangel every fifth day if they want to reach October? Well, at least on this Monday, they said, no, we cannot. He has been sent back to AAA Lehigh. And Alex McFarland, who Don Mattingly last week essentially said he never even heard of before, he is up here. Is this just to hold the seat warm for somebody else, or are they taking an extended look at Alex McFarland? Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City's here, and you got a chance to see Alan Rangel throw this weekend. You're up on your way to Citizens Bank Park right now, and Rangel is out. You wrote the article. It looks like they don't believe they can trust him. Is this a long-term thing or a short-term thing, do you think?
I gotta think it's a kind of a long-term thing, Mike. I mean, everybody sort of documented their troubles with the fifth starter spot. You know, they're 5-20 in games not started by guys named Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez, and Wheeler. And what strikes me about that number is if they were 8-17, which is still terrible, they'd be tied for first place with the Atlanta Braves. And if they were 9-16 out of that spot, which is also not good, they would be in first place. So clearly the fifth spot is a problem. They've got to come up with an answer, and we'll find out. Is McFarland here just because they had to use so much of their bullpen they needed a fresh arm today? Or is he a guy that they see being a viable piece of that bullpen going forward? Or door number 3, are they bringing him up to showcase him for a possible trade?
Yeah, I know the McFarland thing, he's interesting because he's been at Double-A, Mike. Why do you think he's been at Double-A this whole time? Some people believe it's because they didn't want him to go to Triple-A and maybe get hit around, and that this would up his value.
Well, I have heard that theory that sort of projected there, but then, you know, that goes out the window because now, you know, he's in the big leagues. And if he gets hit around in the big leagues, I mean, that would negate that argument, basically. I think he's maybe one of the most talented arms they have in the minor leagues, and they are at a point now in the season with this bullpen and with this number 5 spot in the rotation where maybe it's just time to find out, hey, can this kid, and he is 20, I believe he's 24, 25 years old. Yeah, 25, it's not 2021. So maybe it's time to find out if this guy can be part of the solution, you know, as we close in on the trade deadline, basically.
Well, you know, that's an interesting point, but and keep this in mind, everybody. He was called up one time back in April, but it was only for one day. Never appeared in the game. They sent him back. Now you're bringing him up a second time. That's 2 options for him. Does that tell you that this time they're trying to find out if he can actually help the bullpen?
Yeah, I believe that is the case, Mike. Look, I believe this is a big 6-day stretch for the Phillies and their bullpen. I think if I was the Phillies, if I was Dave Dombrowski, the Dodgers and the Yankees, right? These are the type of hitters that your bullpen guys are going to have to get out in October. So let's see who can do it over the next couple of days and who can't do it. As Don Mattingly said the other day, we were talking before the game, he said bullpens kind of set themselves. They kind of work themselves out. The guys that pitch well get the ball. The guys that don't pitch well either get sent down or don't get the ball. Well, let's see. Let's see. Maybe Jonathan Bolin is for real. Let's see him go in a game tonight and get Ohtani out, get Freeman out, get Mookie Betts out. Let's see. Maybe Kirk Green and Alvarado can turn it around. Let's see him go get Bellinger out, Ben Rice out, Paul Goldschmidt out. I think this 6-day stretch is a kind of measuring stick for where the Phillies bullpen is, and guys that want to be part of the solution going forward, it's an opportunity for them to kind of grab the brass ring here.
Well, Mike, I mean, Alan Rangel, they send him back. They don't have another. Like, if I was to ask you, you're up there all the time. You talk to people. If they don't bring Painter back, and quite frankly, right now, he hasn't even pitched since the last time he threw, and that did not go well. I don't even know, could you pull a name out of a hat that they could use in that 5th spot other than Rangel? Is there even another option?
I can't. They have some guys at AAA, but they are not, not answers that I see. All I can think, Mike, is maybe, that trade deadline is closing in. Maybe you can patch it together in that number 5 spot with a bullpen game or two, and then you look for a starter to sort of come in here, right around the trade deadline, or you make a deal before the trade deadline because the situation now with that number 5 starter is just untenable going forward. And I agree with them. You cannot keep putting around hell out there. One of the things is, as I wrote yesterday at PressOfAC.com, okay, he's now got 4 or 5 starts. The Mets were the first team that he's faced twice. Teams are getting the book on him. They're making adjustments on him. Hitters are seeing him. And you saw the Mets who saw him on June 27th, and he pitched fairly well in that game. I think he went 3 1/3 scoreless, and then in the 6th inning of that game, or his 4th inning of work, the Mets kind of roughed him up a little bit. I think the relievers came in and allowed some inherited runners to score. But the Mets who had seen him before, they just tuned him up yesterday. They were all over him from the 1st and 2nd inning. He is a guy that sort of relies on deception a little bit with his motion. So, you get a look at that once or twice. It's not as perplexing the first time you see it. So, yeah, I don't see anybody right now. I can't point to a guy in the minor leagues or on the major league roster right now and say when the number 5 spot comes around again, you're the guy. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's an issue. As you see, look, they're not going to need the number 5 guy in October, but they might need a number 5 guy to get to October.
Right. And I don't know about you. You can't keep going with a bullpen game every 5th day, right?
Right. You can't. It's not feasible. I think you could do it. You could do it once more. You can maybe do it twice more. But you're just going to wear your bullpen out. Look what happened yesterday. I think they threw over 200 pitches to get to a 9th inning game. Part of the reason McFarland's up is because they probably need some fresh arms in that bullpen to sort of, revitalize that bullpen for tonight. So you're exactly right. Could they do it 1 turn through? Yeah. Could they do it 2? Maybe. But can they do it from now to, October 1st? Absolutely not. Even that they tried to bracket the number 5 spot by having Nola and Luzardo pitch in front of the number 5 spot and Sanchez and Wheeler follow it, figuring you're going to need less relievers and less bullpen with Sanchez and Wheeler. But it's just too much of a strain. It's not feasible going forward. And you can't have, in the words of Doc Rivers, you can't have a scheduled loss every 5th day and still try to, make the postseason.
Mike, you wrote about it at PressOfAtlanticCity.com. They are 41-14 when Sanchez, Wheeler, and Luzardo start. You throw Nola into that, they're 50-25. They are 25 games over 500 when their top 4 pitch. They are 5-20 when everybody else starts. But I guess the question off of that is finding a 5th starter who won't even pitch in the playoffs something that is high on their list of needs when they have so many other things they have to try to fix?
Right now, Mike, if you asked me to, put their higher not only help you in the regular season, that guy can also help you in October. But number 2, I've got a starter now up to number 2 on that, on that trade need pyramid, basically because, okay, they're 3 games back of the Braves, but you look at the race for the wild card, they're in good position right now, but it's certainly not cast in stone. There are certainly teams close behind them. And even do they want to be a number 4 seed and maybe play at home? Do they want to slip to the number 5 or the number 6 seed in the playoffs? So to me, they need that. They need a starter, because the other thing you can't count on is that Luzardo, Wheeler, and Sanchez are going to continue to click off wins at the pace that they've done so far this season. Will those guys keep the 41-14 pace up? So if that falters a little bit, and then you don't solve the 5th starter problem, now you really got some issues. Like I just said a second ago, they're not going to need this fifth starter in October, right? But they probably need a guy to make sure they get to October.
Yeah, I know that you look at the pitching situation and what it means in terms of wild card versus division. You're right, Mike. If you're the wild card team right now, you are traveling to Wrigley. They have 3 left-handers in their starting rotation. To go on the road and beat 3 lefties, that's a tall task.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see what lefties have done to this team sort of all season long, and you see Brandon Marsh kind of struggling a little bit against lefties again. Like I said, they're jostling. There's a lot of the wild card picture and the playoff picture is very fluid. I think the Phillies are in good shape, but they certainly just can't take for granted. They're not running away with things. They're not in the Dodgers position, and they're not in the Milwaukee Brewers position right now. They're still in a position where they got to grind out wins every day. A bad week, a bad 7 to 10 days, and they could, find themselves on the outside looking in. And, you've certainly got some tough teams coming up on the schedule, starting with the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Yep, you got Dodgers and Yankees back-to-back. Let's say you lose 5 out of 6 in this little stretch here. That could change the dynamics of what you're looking for at the trade deadline. We're still a couple of weeks away. We've been hearing about a bat for months. Well, we've been talking about a bullpen now that Brad Keller's out, and now it almost seems imperative that they get another starting pitcher. Like, it almost seems like they have too many needs, and that might just say at the end of the day, maybe you're not good enough. I hope they don't have that mentality.
Yeah, I don't think they have that mentality, but what I do think, Mike, is they're going to have to make some choices, right? Because I don't know if they have the talent in the minor leagues to get to check all the boxes, to fix all their needs. So it's going to be a very, very interesting sort of trade deadline for Dave Dombrowski and Preston Mattingly to see exactly what they prioritize and what they are able to do. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's probably one of the more challenging trade deadlines that Dave Dombrowski has faced since he took over the Phillies.
All right, Mike, we obviously have a Dodger series coming up here. What is your thoughts on this Dodger team? Because, interestingly enough, this Dodger team is putting together quite a run, and 63-37 through 100 games this year. It's the best record in the majors, but they're not really even at full strength.
Yeah, Mike, you just hit it. You just hit it 110%. Like the Dodgers, it just blows my mind the amount of pitchers they have. I mean, they are doing this without even Blake Snell. I don't even think he's pitched this year. He's in the minors now. He looks like he's going to be coming back. Tyler Glass now, he's not one of these guys. All of a sudden, they promote Justin Robolewski. He becomes an all-star and wins 11, 12 games. Ohtani decides he's not going to pitch for a while because he's got a little bit of a bum knee. That would cripple most teams. The Dodgers just kind of sit back and laugh at it and go pick another guy who's an ace and throw him out there. The amount of talent that the Dodgers have is really incredible. I will say tonight, Mike, I think tonight, and again, we talk about all the time, there's 162 games. I think tonight is a big game to sort of see for 2 reasons. First of all, the Phillies dropped the series to the Mets. 3-game series with the Dodgers coming up. Got to get off to a good start. Dodgers played a doubleheader yesterday in Yankee Stadium, day-night doubleheader. Last game ended about 10:30, quarter to 11 last night. They probably got to Philly 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a time for the Phillies to kind of jump on the Dodgers and get off to a good start in this 3-game series. And 2, I'm curious as to what Christopher Sanchez brings to the mound tonight. I'm curious to see him pitch. He's been a bit spotty. He's been good, but he hasn't been the Christopher Sanchez, and this is maybe unfair to say, but I'll say it anyway. He's not the guy who gave up 50. He hasn't been the guy who wasn't scored on for 50-plus innings early in the season. He's been a bit shaky his last couple of outings. I'm interested to see what Christopher Sanchez does against the Dodgers tonight and this entire series. I'm interested to see if anybody in that Phillies bullpen steps up and says, hey, I can be the guy to pitch in high leverage situations. I think this is a fascinating 3-game series coming up for the Phillies.
And throw into the fact, too, that you've got Sanchez and Wheeler going in this series. So if you want to win a series with those two guys, this is your best shot you got with those two. Best records in baseball since April 28th. The Brewers are the best. The Phillies are number 2. The Dodgers are number 3. So the Dodgers are looking and saying, okay, these guys have been better than us since April the 28th. We'll see these two teams go at it at Citizens Bank Park tonight, where the Phillies are looking for their 1,000th career win at Citizens Bank Park. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, joins me here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. We'll see you down the road. Thanks.
All right, there's Mike McGarry. He's back on Wednesday's show. And, of course, we'll have all the coverage of the Phillies and the Dodgers, and you guys out there can be a big part of it at 609-403-0973. When we come back, do you remember? Plus, Tim Kelly from on Pattison at 3 o'clock. We'll get deeper into some of the Phillies' needs and targets and all that good stuff. We got football at 4 as the countdown to camp begins. We're just getting started in the first hour of the show, brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Mike, it's summertime, and you know what that means. People have been getting in problems, car accidents, slip and falls at work. Things are crazy right now in the summer, and that's why you need to have an injury lawyer who can handle the tough cases here in South Jersey at the law offices of Craig A. Altman in Vineland. They service all of South Jersey. So if something unfortunate does happen to you, you want to make sure you have someone on your side to deal with the insurance companies, not someone in a fancy suit who gets in front of a television commercial and then hands you off to somebody that you've never heard of and you'll never see again. No, the law offices of Craig A. Altman, they make sure that you pay nothing unless they win. So don't risk it. Don't hope for the best. Call 856-327-8899 or get your free consultation right now online at craigaltmanlaw.com.
All right, coming up, we have today's Do You Remember? Plus, the Phillies have released their uniforms for the Field of Dreams game. That's still to come today on the show, on the Sports Bash. All right, 2:53. Time for Do You Remember? These are things that happened on this day, July the 20th. Not a lot today. It's kind of a weak day, but this one's a big one. Do you remember on this day, 1976, Hank Aaron hit his 755th career home run? It's the last home run he ever hit. It was a solo shot off Dick Drago. And that would be it. 755 for Hammer and Hank. 755 passed by Barry Bonds. Kinda, sorta, maybe. Does anybody actually care? I don't know. What else we got?
I was just gonna say, you can make an argument that Hank Aaron goes down as the greatest ball player of all time because he made so many like all-time numbers that either have never been touched or barely been touched, like for example with Bonds, that him as an all-around baseball player could theoretically, to me, it's probably either him or Willie Mays.
No argument here. Never saw him play, so I can't really comment in terms of I watched you play and can add to that. Just going off numbers and what is impact, certainly no argument. For anybody, there is no all-time, you're the best. It's all subjective in every sport, yeah.
But I think that, if you just go based off, like you said, the stats or other people who have watched them say, I feel like if you said either Hank Aaron or Willie Mays, it's a pretty safe bet that you're in the right neighborhood when it comes to the GOAT.
Yeah. I know that I don't know that Hank Aaron is everybody's first guess when someone asks who's the greatest player. Certainly one of the greatest, if not the greatest home run hitter. But many people would have said Barry Bonds was the greatest player all around. Defense, speed, power, all of it. Of course, that has become tainted.
Well, the other thing is Hank Aaron was very underrated for the other things he did. He did have 3,000 hits. He is the all-time RBI leader.
Well, Sports Bash this hour brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Coming up in the next hour, Tim Kelly from On Pattison joins us to talk a little Phils. We'll go a little deeper into some options for the Phillies, some names, all that stuff. Plus, the Phillies uniform for the Field of Dreams has been released.
ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All right, 3 o'clock hour. Sports Bash is live. Phil's tonight against the Dodgers. You got Sanchez and Wheeler in this series against the Dodgers. You know, the Phillies have actually been better than the Dodgers since April 28th. But watch them this weekend. I don't know that anybody's surmising that the Phillies are better than the Dodgers. Every day, it seems we change our minds on what the Phillies need. Do we have a better idea after watching them against the Mets? Well, everybody has seen these numbers that have been out there. When Sanchez, Wheeler, and Luzardo pitch, they're pretty good. When Nola throws, they're average. And when anybody else throws, they stink. So what does that mean for this team moving forward? Tim Kelly on Pattison covers the Phillies, set to join us right now on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN as the Phillies get ready to take on the Dodgers at Citizens Bank Park. He joins me now on the show. Tim, welcome aboard, man. What's going on?
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And, man, you watch this weekend. I think the number with the fifth starter has been conversated about a lot all season long. But after this weekend, is it the kind of thing that the Phillies now have to act on?
I think even before this past weekend, it was something they have to act on. I don't know that I would say it's their number one priority. I still think, particularly with Brad Keller likely out for the season, that getting at least one bullpen arm, if not two, is probably their biggest need. And I think you could even say an outfielder is still a bigger need than a starting pitcher, but they just need someone to come in there and give them a chance every fifth day. And that doesn't have to necessarily be a splash, but it has to be somebody that stabilizes that spot, because whether it's been Taijuan Walker, Andrew Painter, or Alan Ronhell, they just haven't gotten it consistently.
What do you make of the McFarland move today? I mean, obviously he has been sensational at Double-A. Now, some have wondered, why has he not been promoted any higher than Double-A? And others have opined, well, they want to feature him to try to trade him. But as you just hinted at, and we all know, Keller's out. They need an arm. Is he up here to audition for that, or is he here for a night like he was the last time he was up? What do you make of McFarland being here today?
I would find it hard to believe he's only here for a night and not going to get an opportunity to actually pitch this time. Don Mattingly will speak in like an hour and we'll know better than that. But I would anticipate this is some sort of an audition for him and a chance to see, can he play a major part for this team? And I do think that there was a lot of thought that maybe he ends up being a trade chip. But if you have a guy that can throw 101 or 102, maybe he can be part of it. The problem is he's just walked so many people in the minor league level, but the arm is live. If they can get him to throw strikes, and he's found success at Double-A even without throwing strikes as consistently, if they can get him to not throw as many balls, he has a chance to be really good. So maybe rather than trading him, you bring him up and you can see whether he can be a long-term piece for you.
That being said, they lose Keller. Do we have to imagine that has now vaulted up the list? A high leverage bullpen arm has to be something. Or do you think, Tim, that they have enough trust in Kerkering, Boland, and Alvarado, I guess, to hold that down?
No, I mean, I think this has become the number one need that they have. Even before we knew Brad Keller was going to be out for the season, I think a left-handed arm ideally would be their biggest need. Now, you just want a guy that can get guys out, but specifically a lefty, you haven't gotten what you expected from Alvarado. Tanner Banks regressed this year. I think Tim Meza is a useful piece, but is he your guy when you go to face Ohtani or Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson in the playoffs in a high leverage spot? Probably not. So I think you need a lefty that you trust that can come in here and get big outs. And I don't know if that perfect guy is going to be out there. It seems more and more like Aroldis Chapman is not going to move. And even if he did, I don't know if the Phillies have the prospect capital to get a guy like that this year. But I do think an eighth inning guy and ideally a left-handed one is still probably their biggest need.
Yeah, and Tim Kelly on Pattison's with us, looking at a lot of the Phillies weekend here. They're going to play the Dodgers tonight. You got McFarland up here now. Theoretically, he's one of the chips that you could use to try to get something. If he comes up here, I guess that helps in some capacity. But what if you needed a bat?
Well, right. I mean, him coming up here, and again, we'll know more, but him coming up here makes me think the Phillies are trying to figure out whether he can be part of the solution as opposed to being traded for a solution.
Right.
The risk in that is that if he comes up here and just can't throw strikes, maybe that decreases his trade value a little bit in a couple of weeks. But I think if he comes up here and he has success, then you're just going to use him. You're not going to trade him away, and maybe that becomes a way you can internally fill that. To me, even if he has a lot of success, though, you're still talking about needing a lefty. The Mets were here yesterday. They have a couple in A.J. Minter and Brooks Raley that have been around for a while. So I don't know that it's going to be somebody that's like a sexy name, but if you're able to have McFarland come up here and have success and get a lefty, then you could talk about like the bullpen being really improved and maybe Alvarado bounces back to some degree. But you have a great top three in your starting rotation, and you have about as good of a closer as there is in the league. You need to find a way to get it from the starter to the closer.
Right. And, it's funny because last week when Don Mattingly was asked about Alex McFarland and Gage Wood, he almost acted as if he never even heard of these two guys before. Is Gage Wood a guy that you envision potentially being an option in some capacity, whether it be a fifth starter or some sort of bullpen guy?
Well, I don't think Don was acting when he said that. Like, not that he doesn't know them, but this is his first year in the organization. He was the bench coach coming into the season. Like, I just think his focus is so on the major league level that it's not that he doesn't know these guys. He saw them in spring training, but it's not his at the top of his mind. It's more of a front office thing. As far as Gage Wood, I'm unsure. He pitched in the Futures game here last week. He wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible, and he obviously last night it looked like he had a great start for Reading. So I'm intrigued about what he can be. And again, whether it's this year or next year, you feel like he's not particularly far off. And do you want to trade him this summer, knowing that even if we say maybe he's not ready to help them this year, as soon as next year he could be, and you don't really have any certainty in the back end of your starting rotation, if you think he can be a piece for you long term, you probably don't want to trade him. At the same time, you don't have a lot of options in terms of if you want to make a big move, who you can trade this year.
This is a tricky spot. Tim Kelly's with us from Pattison. I mean, there are two big free agent moves from this offseason. One is both are hurt and essentially done for the season. So now you're back to square one. And how Dombrowski handles this mysterious right-handed bat that we have heard for about 3 or 4 years now. Do you, Tim, see that as an attainable piece?
I don't think if you're talking about like a right-handed bat that comes in here and hits cleanup, I just don't know if that guy's going to be out here. I asked Byron Buxton last week at the All-Star game. He was pretty emphatic. He's not going anywhere, and the Twins are in contention. Mike Trout has never shown any indication to move, so I think at this point, move on from that, at least for this year. Look, if the Orioles fade out and Taylor Ward becomes available, I think that's a good name. But Taylor Ward is like a B-level player that you're going to be probably paying an A-level value to get as a rental, because the Phillies aren't the only team. There is a lack of right-handed hitters, impact right-handed hitters in baseball today. So if someone like Ward becomes available, yeah, the Phillies will be interested, and so will 10 other teams. And maybe the Phillies come out and get him, but it's going to be hard. Like, I think finding relief help is probably going to be an easier task than finding a bat. And that doesn't mean they won't add an outfielder. I just don't know. Like, it may be more along the lines of what they did a year ago with Harrison Bader, and that worked out. But it may be a move more like that than finding like a Duran type move from last year for the outfield this year.
Right. And then obviously you're in a situation where, I don't know about you, do you think the team internally says this Brandon Marsh thing might start to falter a little bit? I mean, he has been so awesome for you. It's almost as if you have to wonder if you need to try to find someone to push him down the list of important spots in this lineup. Are you there with him yet?
Well, I think it's probably unlikely he replicates his first half. The guy that's got to push him down the order of importance is Trey Turner. Some of this is going to have to come internally. You've seen the defense hasn't come around, but offensively of late, he's played pretty well. So if he resembles anything like what you expected from Trey Turner coming into the year, then that helps you to that end. He's also a right-handed bat, so you need some production there. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Marsh obviously can't fall off a cliff, but he helped tide you over in that first half when you weren't getting the type of production that you needed out of Trey Turner. Now Turner's going to have to come along.
Yeah, Turner obviously coming around a little bit offensively there in the same time when Marsh has dipped off a bit. Any scenario you see, Tim, where they can shock us all. I don't know if it'd be a shock, but maybe by moving a Bohm or a Stott. They're the two guys whose name come up. Now, Stott, not as much, but we know Bohm's a free agent at the end of the year. Is that a guy that they could utilize, or does he just not have any value?
I think if he was available, like I said, there's such a lack of right-handed hitting that like there would be interest in him, but not for any significant value. And if A, he was having a good season, and B, Aiden Miller was healthy, I think that would be a real conversation we'd be having. That's not the reality, though. So I think Bohm is your third baseman for the rest of this year, and then Bryson Stott's your second baseman, Trey Turner's your shortstop, and in the outfield, or in the offseason, I should say, it might be a completely different discussion at all three positions. But right now, I think this is what you're rolling with for the rest of the year.
What do you make of what Turner's been able to do here? He had a very interesting, I mean, that's the most raw that he has been, it feels like, since he has gotten here. He is a guy who obviously a lot of fanfare, signed that contract. It just seemingly has never connected yet with the fan base outside of one night where he gets a standing ovation, but even that kind of went away. And it just seems we don't know a lot about this guy. What did you make of the way that he kind of came out and talked to everybody the other day?
Yeah, he's done that on a few occasions. I would say like he's pretty honest, and he's tough on himself, maybe to a fault at times. Like he is there's value in baseball in not being very smart, and he is smart. And I guess in some cases, maybe that can cause you to overthink or look a little too deeply into things. When he's right, though, even if it's not what he was with the Dodgers and the Nationals, if you just get the player he was last year, there's a ton of value in that. And you've seen some really good stretches from him with the Phillies. Obviously, after that standing ovation, he had one of the best 6 or 8 week stretches we've ever seen offensively from a Phillies infielder. And then last year, he won the batting title. And we can say, well, that doesn't mean as much anymore, and that's probably true, but it was still a really good season. You need some version like that of Trey Turner offensively. There's going to be a conversation in the offseason about what you do defensively, and I don't know if there's a good answer, but he's playing shortstop the rest of this year. I'd be floored if he's at a different position this season. So that is what it is. Offensively, you need him to get going, and maybe he's started to show you some signs that he is.
All right, a couple more with Tim Kelly here from on Pattison. And, of course, the Phillies have Bryce Harper, who's, has had a really good year. Let's give him a little props here. However, would you be floored if they made a move to move him back to the outfield?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they've shown no indication to do that. And honestly, the guys that people were talking about the Phillies potentially doing that for, Christian Walker, he just got hurt over the weekend, and Wilson Contreras has said he's not waiving his no-trade clause. And really, that's a moot point now because the Red Sox have won 13 in a row, and they're back in the playoff spot. So, no, I don't think they were ever going to do it, but I really don't think there's even like names worth contemplating doing it for now.
Yeah, that I would agree with you there. I would be pretty shocked. I don't think that they have any interest in moving him out there. What is your take on where Justin Crawford is and kind of the impact? I don't know what to make of him, Tim, honestly. Like, he was a really good player at AAA. I mean, the numbers were like great. And I'm like, okay, what does that translate to here? And what kind of impact does that make at the major league level? When you look at Justin Crawford, what kind of impact does he make on this team?
I think he's done a good job to tread water this year, and that's something that like Andrew Painter wasn't able to do, and some other guys we've seen come up that are prospects weren't able to do. Obviously, if this is the end result of Justin Crawford, then that's disappointing, but I think you've seen some flashes of him when he makes contact consistently that can have value near the bottom of the lineup. I do think in time he's going to have to be able to drive the ball a little more, and I'm not even talking out of the park, but into the gaps for doubles and triples. He is electric when he runs the bases, but he hasn't given himself enough chances this year to show his speed. I think in the outfield, he's still a work in progress in center, but you have seen him be better. And the thing about him is some guys just don't have the athleticism to play center field. He has the athleticism. It's just some of the other stuff, the instincts that need to come along. But he has a good head on his shoulders. Like, he's an impressive kid. So I think he's done fine this year. And it's more of a long-term thing. He's your 9-hitter when he's in the lineup this year. You can't. I don't see a scenario where all of a sudden you look up in the playoffs and he's leading off for you. Like, I just think this is what he is this year, and player development, especially on a good team, is not always a pretty process, and you just kind of have to ride out the highs and lows.
Do you think they want to try to get to a point where it's Crawford and Hill platooning in center field? Is that what they hope to get to, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of senses, like that's kind of what they've been at. That Hill plays against lefties and Crawford plays against righties, and we've seen Hill have an impact. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have offensively on a consistent basis, but clearly he is the best defensive outfielder they have. So that alone brings value. And yeah, I mean, I don't know beyond this year what the plan is, but I would think the rest of this year that's your mix in center field, and you hope to acquire someone that can help you with Rincones in right field.
So, okay, so a couple quick thoughts here. Rincones is a left-handed hitter. He's playing most of the time. At this point, we've been talking about a right-handed hitter for multiple years. Do they need to maybe just say, let's get a left-handed hitter to improve over Rincones? Is that an option?
Well, I think, like, in theory, that would make sense. Just it's not a great trade deadline to need pieces, both because of what's out there and what the Phillies have. So I think Rincones is another guy. You're just going to have to roll with this and hope he gets going. And you've seen some flashes offensively, and hope that him and bring in a righty. And maybe you get a righty bat like Harrison Bader last year, and that guy comes in and outperforms what you expected and just ends up being the everyday right fielder. More likely to me is you find kind of what they tried to do a few years ago with Austin Hayes. You find a platoon guy and you roll with that, and you hope that this time the guy doesn't get a weird stomach infection that you've never heard of a baseball player ever getting.
A couple quick hitters here. You see Sosa playing left field in a playoff game?
Probably not. I mean, we'll see. I think that's the area where you upgrade. You upgrade over what Sosa's doing in the outfield. You find that right-handed batter for the outfield. Marsh will play right field, and then whoever you get plays left field against left-handed pitchers. And then, yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is, does Sosa become push Stott more? Do we go back to seeing the Phillies use those two as a platoon at second base?
You see Painter back here at all this year?
I don't know. I mean, the first two starts were good at Lehigh, and then he got shelled the last start, and he hasn't pitched yet since the second half began. So I don't know what to make of the situation he's at. You still see some velocity. I think he is another guy like Crawford that, like, he seems to have a good head on his shoulders, but ultimately either you produce or you don't. And I don't know that putting him back in the majors right now is the best thing for him long term.
I would agree. I am highly disappointed. This is a mystery here. He hasn't thrown since the last time he pitched, and that did not go well. It almost feels like they don't know what to do either with him. Tim Kelly on Pattison at Tim Kelly Sports. You can check out him on the Twitter X platform, and he was kind enough to jump on the show here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Hope to do it again soon, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Tim Kelly, everybody. Here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I think that's the first time Tim has been on our show. He has been covering the Phillies since 2020 for Bleacher Report on Pattison, local guy, and, of course, kind enough to jump on board here on the Sports Bash. Look, the one thing is the Painter thing. Let's start with that. I am highly disappointed in Painter. And I got to be at the point now, if I'm the Phillies, where bringing him back to this team right in 2026 to help this team out, I don't see as viable. And they need a guy so bad. And he did not go down to AAA and just dominate or even pitch, not even quality start. He didn't even give you quality AAA starts for the most part. He gave him 8 hits in 2 innings his last time out. So I just don't see him as a viable option to help this team out. Rincones stinks. I've been saying that the whole time. I mean, they got to upgrade the Rincones spot in this lineup. They can't keep throwing him out there in the middle of a pennant race with 60 games left. To play him out there is asinine. Get him out of the lineup. They got to figure something out there. And I said for like a month now since he's been up here, if he's going to play 5 days a week, go find a better left-handed hitter. Okay? I know you don't need another lefty in this lineup, but if he's playing 5 days a week because you're facing all these righties, go find a guy that can hit left-handed for peanuts, and just get a veteran guy that can hold it down. That's 2. He said Sosa in left, probably not, which means they got to try to find someone to play the outfield, preferably who hits right-handed. We all know they need a right-hand bat. That's been going on for years now. So we got that. I thought he brought up a lot of interesting points when it comes to McFarland, too. I mean, McFarland, to me, I don't know what to make of them calling him up today. If I'm the Phillies, he's one of your better trade chips, one, but I need a bullpen arm. I need a guy that can actually pitch in a bullpen. So you're probably, of course, you're hoping that he comes up here and performs. But what if somebody calls you and says, we'll take McFarland? They're in a tough spot here, man. They're in a tough spot with trying to improve the offense. Because to improve the offense, the other team's probably going to say, I'll take a pitcher. We'll give you a bat. We want a pitcher. And then you're saying, well, we need this pitcher because he's pitching well for us. You're in a weird spot with McFarland. Now, the last time they called McFarland up, he didn't throw. He came up for the night, and then he went back down. So I don't know how they plan on using McFarland tonight, if at all. We'll see.
This is why I go back, Mike, to me, it all comes down to how do other teams view the Phillies prospects? Because remember, we had the conversation previously about how the Phillies are a bottom 10 minor league system. This is not you and me saying it. It's baseball analysts saying it. Okay. So if people around the league and people who cover the game say that Phillies don't have a ton of great prospects, that means you have a very, very small group of players to offer other teams. You had to already give up last year Mick Abel and Eduardo Tait to get Eduardo Dewan.
Sad news, by the way, for Abel. He's going to have Tommy John, too.
Yeah, I saw that. But the larger point, though, is
I don't know, I'm just saying. Like, I just saw that his season's over, 60-day.
Yeah.
And because he had a nice story coming back from, pitching very poorly,
Yep.
kind of resurrected his career. So much so that he pitched so well that you got Duran from him.
Right. You traded him and Tait to get Duran. So you emptied two of the assets you already had last year. And
Duran, and Tait, by the way, he's still pretty far away from.
He's still pretty far away, but he was considered a top prospect in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. So now the question is, if you call a team and you say, hey, what's the availability of fill in the blank player? And they come to you, and are they going to ask for someone who's not named McFarland or Painter or Wood? That's the big question.
You know what's funny? When I asked the question about, I said, Mattingly last week essentially said he didn't even hear of these guys. And he said he's not lying.
I don't like that.
He's
so focused on the big league team.
How is that possible? I mean, he's got to know who these people are. They're in his system. He's the manager of the team. His son is the general manager, for God's sake. You'd think that they sat down and had dinner and says, hey, Dad, I got a kid at AA that's pretty darn good.
Here's a question. Is that the kind of family that says when we go out to eat, we don't talk business?
Could be. I mean, I don't think so, though. This guy's whole life is baseball. It's all they've known their whole entire lives. You got to imagine that they sit down and that's their conversation. But seriously, I don't know how they have a conversation. And I got to throw everything out the window when it comes to this relationship, where dad is the manager and son is the GM. Everything that we have heard and been told about the way the Phillies do business is out the window now because of this relationship. It's bizarre when you think about it, but I got to imagine dad and son are having dinner and son says, hey, I got a pitcher at AA that can help you out. And you're telling me Don Mattingly, dad says, I never heard of this guy. I don't even know who he is. I find that hard to believe.
I hear you. It is hard to believe. But the only reason why I do think that some of this is not as clear-cut as maybe we painted out to be is because I don't think Preston Mattingly is actually.
No, but he's still the general manager of the team. He knows the ins and outs of the organization and who is ready or not ready. I mean, you think Don Mattingly sits down with him and says, hey, Preston, you got anybody down there that can help us?
I think both Mattingleys understand that they can talk all they want, but Dombrowski's the one who's pressing the button.
Still, even if Preston doesn't have the authority to press the button, he can at least have a conversation with his father to say, yeah, we got a couple arms, a kid named McFarland and another kid named Wood. They might be able to help you out in August. Don't say I never heard of these guys. Jeez. Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Alex Farland, by the way, he'll wear number 71 if he gets in the game tonight. He didn't get in the game the last time it came up. Hey, we have Phillies and Yankees Sunday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. Sunday Night Baseball is on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, returning August 3rd to 97.3 ESPN, it is the return of the Golics. Mike Golick Jr. and Mike Golick Sr. form a new show August 3rd, 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. The Golics are coming to 97.3 ESPN. 3:32. Thanks to Tim Kelly from on Pattison. Make sure you check out his stuff. He'll be joining us more on the Sports Bash here on the show. We've got plenty more to go, including Geoff Mosher's mailbag at 4 o'clock today. Monday Mosher mailbag. And really, the next Monday, when Mosher's on, that'll be on the eve of report day. Next Tuesday, the Eagles report to training camp. You know what that means, right? As soon as the Eagles report, summer's over. That's it. There's no more summer left after that.
I wouldn't go that far. It's a little extreme. I think what it means is we need to turn our attention back to football.
Soon as football gets here, when you turn your attention back to football, means you're ready for the first game to start, and then that means the summer's over.
Yeah, almost. To me, summer's over when the first football game is on a Sunday. To me, that's when I'm like, all right, no more beach, no more casual time. Now we're going to be our life schedule changes.
Got it. All right. When does the summer end for the people out there? Is it the start of training camp or the start of the actual week one of the NFL?
Like, for example, I remember when I was younger, one of the delineations was like people said summer ended when all the kids left for college. So it was like that, like early to mid-August. Like that was like, all right, summer's ending.
Yeah.
All the college kids are gone.
All right. Well, coming up later on, Brian Windhorst chimes in on the LeBron to Sixers latest. We'll have that in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, we got Phillies Fastball tonight, Knicks, Nuggets, and more. What do you got for me?
So have you seen, first of all, for those who might not know, the Phillies are in the Field of Dreams game this year. The people that might have flown under the radar with everything else in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you know, Mike, that they have now revealed the special uniforms the Phillies and Twins are going to wear?
I saw these uniforms.
Game. The reason I wanted to bring this up to you is because I got a lot of thoughts on this.
You know what my initial thought was?
And I'm also really quick. I know that you're a big uniform guy.
My initial thought when I saw these uniforms. Do you remember the statue of Ronaldo?
The bad one?
The bad one?
Yeah.
That's what I thought of when I saw these uniforms.
You thought they were a mistake.
It just makes me like the statue of Ronaldo, like his eyes were like scrunched together. It just was like the weirdest looking thing. So it looks like the font is all just, and I was like, this just reminds me of the Ronaldo statue. That was my instant takeaway, was these are terrible. What were they thinking? So for the people who are watching on YouTube, I'm going to put the picture of the Ronaldo statue up there.
Okay.
And I got to get the side-by-side of the I got to see if I can do that real fast. So for the people watching on YouTube, I'm going to put this up on the screen real fast. This is the picture of the Ronaldo statue. Hold on. Let me see if I can do something quick here. I don't know. So what was your thoughts? Let me see if I can.
While you do that, I'll give you my thoughts.
Because I'm going to try to multitask this together real fast.
Yeah. So my thing is, I absolutely hate these uniforms.
They're terrible.
With a intense passion. Here's why. I don't
understand. First off, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Every time a Philadelphia sports team has a chance to like do a
do something cool.
Yeah, have like a City Connect. The City Connects are terrible.
Yeah.
Any Sixer City Connect or whatever the heck they call them in the NBA, none of them have won me over. I just don't understand how the uniform makers mess this up. Now,
yeah, go ahead.
It just bothers me that you have a uniform opportunity to say, all right, we get to do something different, a little cool, and then this is what you come up with. I don't understand it. What is this a homage to?
It's supposed to be an homage to like old school baseball from like the early 1900s.
Now the Twins don't look like they're doing anything.
The Twins uniform looks exactly the same.
It looks like the Twins uniform.
Right. It looks like the Twins uniform.
Okay.
But the Phillies uniform looks like someone got drunk and fell in love with the old Cleveland Indians uniform. That's what it looks like to me. I hate this idea that we have to constantly change the colors. I think that every alternate uniform, especially these throwback or these in memory of, they all have to be some sort of connective tissue to the colors of the team. The fact that we are not highlighting either the bright red or the maroon with the fat P, either one of those is just another.
They do have it's red and blue.
It's not Phillies blue though. It's some other.
It's a navy blue.
It's like Cleveland's blue. If you take the Cleveland Guardians and put it next to this, it's almost the same exact thing.
Sure. I mean, it's a navy blue. It's definitely not the blue that the Phillies generally wear.
No, if you're going to use blue, you got to use the blue the Phillies already have used for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Enough of this recreating everything. The City Connect uniform is an abomination.
No, those are terrible.
This uniform is an insult. I don't understand why we have to keep straying away from the colors that we identify our teams with.
Okay, so I did put together a mashup of a picture of the Ronaldo statue.
Right, the disgusting Ronaldo statue.
With the Phillies' new uniforms. All right. So if you're watching on YouTube.
Go to YouTube right now.
Yeah. Let me see.
Pull over on the side of the road. Pull into a parking lot. Pull up your YouTube.
Yeah, I'm giving you a minute to go to YouTube and go to youtube.com and you can watch the show over there. So I am going to pop up on the screen. This is what I thought of when I saw the uniform. It looks like this. See how the letters are like scrunched together?
The letters look like they were done by someone who is making a counterfeit.
It's just like the letters were like, yeah, they're like squeezed together there. And I said, this reminds me of how the Ronaldo statue turned out, where like his eyes are like squeezed together kind of. And it's just like, it just doesn't seem like.
I mean, they look like they're the minor league team for the Cleveland Guardians. That's what the uniforms look like to me. This looks like they're the AA team. Bryce Harper's back at AA. Like, this is such an embarrassment.
I like this one from somebody watching on YouTube. Says, they look like the jerseys you could buy out of a shopping cart outside of Citizens Bank.
Counterfeit.
Park.
There you go.
Yeah.
Counterfeit. These are counterfeit uniforms.
Yeah, I don't.
I want to know
the
who
font is
these
not
things.
good.
Who approves these things?
The font's not good. I'm sorry, Phillies. You tried. I mean, I actually like the navy blue with the red as a look
I don't like
together.
It at all. No. You got to be your team's colors.
That
Where
doesn't
in
bother
Phillies
me as much.
history is that color blue?
Yeah, that one doesn't. I have to go back and look.
Outside of the City Connect uniform.
No, the City Connects are terrible.
Like in past years, we've had like the royal blue they use now with the cream color.
I think like if you go all the way back to like the 1900s, they wore like a navy. Like the early days of the Phillies, I think they wore navy.
So we're basically going to predate the 20th century.
They have had a navy, I believe, in their early history.
I just don't understand why everyone hates Phillies red.
The red, though, is the red. I mean, the red is...
That's Cleveland red. It's not Phillies red.
Whatever. I don't know what this Cleveland red is that you're talking of.
You pull up a Cleveland Guardians uniform and tell me it doesn't look like that stupid Phillies Field of Dreams uniform.
Well, the Field of Dreams uniform, I guess it's a little... I can't tell because it's on the... it's like a navy blue.
The blue is too dark.
I feel like they tried to make it look like an old-time uniform.
Yes, they
did. For whatever
did.
reason, they squeezed the font together and then put it on like a little bit of an angle. If they would have like made the font not as squished together and made it straight, I might think differently.
To me, it's more than just the font. I don't understand why my Philadelphia sports teams have to constantly give us new uniforms that have nothing to do with the colors that we associate with the team. I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard to say, you know what? We have people like Hall of Famers like Richie Ashburn and Robin Roberts who wore a certain kind of uniform in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Jim Bunning threw a perfect game in this kind of uniform. Why don't we honor those colors instead of recreating this thing?
I don't like them. So the Cleveland Guardians' official uniform colors are navy blue, red, and white. I'm trying to see if they have a certain script or hue that they use that's different from the Phillies red, because I'm not seeing a different red from the Cleveland red to the Phillies red. Now, if you can prove to me otherwise.
Well, to me, it's the outline.
I think it's because of the navy. The navy is
the navy
making
outline of the letters on the uniform. Like if you pull that picture back up, the Bryce Hart picture you had, like you'll see there's like a little like outline of the letters.
So yeah, well, the letters are in navy. I mean, the outline is navy blue, which is not the Phillies. You're saying that the red though is a Cleveland red, and I don't know what that means. I feel like the Phillies red and the Cleveland
Well, that's what I'm
red
saying. Like maybe to me, I'm just so enraged by this. Like I can't even see it straight. You know?
Yeah,
I'm seeing red.
My biggest thing on the radio, but if you're watching on the YouTube and you saw it. Now, let's see here. So the red in them is PMS 185C, and this one's 200C. So maybe it's like a 15%. I feel like the Phillies
it's not
red
enough of a difference.
is a little bit. Yeah, it's slightly brighter.
Yeah, I feel like the Phillies red is slightly brighter. I think that's probably what I was trying to say. But again, I'm just so annoyed by these uniforms. I'm not even like thinking straight. I'm like, no. I'm like this. I'm like the scene from Office.
Oh, listen, I'm not
Steve Carell's character. Like, no.
I'm not a big fan of them either, but they have been announced, the new uniform. Now, they were leaked a little while ago, but they were officially announced today that they will wear these uniforms for the game in Iowa. Is anybody in the listening audience going to that game?
Good question.
609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Is there anybody in the listening audience that is actually going to the Field of Dreams game? Let me know on the White Horse RV text board.
Would you want to go to that game?
When this game was announced, I said I would rather go to that game than probably any other game you could send me to. Like if you told me pick a game, that would be the game I would pick to go to. Like over a London game, over anything. And the London game was one of the best times I ever had at a sporting event in my life. But
best
I would
time of your life?
Probably say I would go to the Field of Dreams game over any sporting event that you could offer me. Nice. I forget we were talking about this before, and we compared that one with something else, and I said, no, Field of Dreams game. When they announced this game, I was like, through hell or high water, I'm getting to that game.
I think the one I asked you about was the Little League World Series game. Because
I've been to a Little League World Series.
No, but I mean with the Major League Baseball players in that stadium.
Gotcha.
When they do that game every year.
That's true. This by far. Definitively this. All right, coming up, it is our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. That's next. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.
to ban tents on beaches?
Tents,
Yes.
like in the sand.
Yep. Like how people set up big tent, like the ones that you see at like tailgates and
Sure.
stuff.
What's your issue with it? Protecting themselves from the sun, protecting their food and beverages.
Yeah.
What's the issue?
I walk on the beach and it's just a sea of tents. I don't come for the sea of tents. I come for the sea. The whole beach is just tents. It looks like a flea market out there, man. It's ridiculous.
So let me ask you a question, Pat. When you want to get some shade, a little bit of relief from the sun,
Put a hat
are you
on.
okay? Are you okay with the umbrella?
Umbrella, we can make it happen.
The beach
Although an
umbrella
umbrella,
is okay. I kind of agree with Pat on this one.
What?
I don't want to see the tailgate tent out on the beach. Tailgate tent, it takes away from the vibes of the
it
beach.
takes up so much space, too.
It's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Pat Costello hates tents on the beach. What is your position on the tent on the beach? I hear so many people up in arms about this one.
First of all, I hate his explanation. I don't go to the beach to see the sea of tents. I want to go see the sea. Well, Pat, if you actually go to the beach, you'll notice that the majority of the tents are not on top of the water, which is where the sea is. The majority of people who want the sea, they set up closer to the water. The tents are usually further back on the beach. So to me, I don't know how it's ruining his view, except for the one video and picture he put up on X.
Well, I don't really have a problem with a tent on the beach. Doesn't bother me. You can pick where you want to sit. You can sit somewhere far from the tent if you so choose. Now, could a compromise be certain streets allow you to have tents and certain ones don't?
I think that'd be fine.
Or because, hey, I live on this street, I have to go to a different beach because I have a tent. I don't know that would work either.
I don't know if it works either, but I mean, I think he's being way too extreme on this. Telling him he's ruining the vibe. And I think Michelle Small makes up a great point. How are you keeping everything covered? How are you getting don't tell me wear a hat is going to get you covered.
No.
You know how many times I've worn a hat and gotten
No,
sun
there
on
are
my neck?
legitimately people who have had skin cancer or something and they can't be out in the sun, but they want to sit on the beach. You can't say to them, "Hey, sorry, no tent allowed."
Right.
Now,
No
could you
tent
get
for
the
you.
big umbrella? What's any different from that than putting the tent up? Because one has sides on it. I don't know. Costello, you're off base on this one. Tent on the beach, perfectly fine. Not a problem. And everybody else I've seen complain about this, Costello, your own sportsman, that's a bad take.
And you know what else is the thing is? A lot of those tents, they are weighted down. Those umbrellas are not always weighted down. I've seen those things go flying.
Yeah, the tent is perfectly fine. Find a different spot to sit. Further away. The beach is big enough that you can find a little sliver if you don't want a tent blocking your view. Pat Costello, you're unsportsmanlike. That is our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. By the way, Phillies lineup is out, and the lineup is brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, coming soon to the White Horse Pike in Absecon. Right now, text your name and where you're from to 609-403-0973. And if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs, you could win a $100 gift card to Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's. Tonight's lineup against the Dodgers: Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Marsh, Stott, Real Muto, Rincones, Crawford, and Sanchez is on the mound. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Big screens, big bets. Game day hits different at Ocean. It's the Phillies and the Dodgers. You can watch that tonight at Ocean Casino Resort. And, of course, it is time for Football at 4. And this time next week, it will be the eve of Eagles training camp. And who is Eagles training camp ultimately most important for? Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. They talked about some of the battles that we're going to be looking at training camp, which is coming up on the 28th of July is when they report. The 29th is likely when they will be back on the field. And Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast and PhillyVoice.com joins us now to take a look at some of those battles that we'll be watching as they get ready to hit it was the NovaCare Center. Now it is the Jefferson Health Training Complex in almost a week from now. Mosher, what's up, buddy?
Mike, what's going on? Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. I spent most of my weekend down in Cape May, which is a lovely town to be at in the middle of the summer. Although, I don't know, Saturday at around 6:30, the amount of rain that I saw was intense. What was it like where you were?
Gosh, where was I? Softball tournament in my neck of the woods. And yeah, we got a truckload of rain. It was bad.
It was unbelievable. But here we are getting ready, and we were just having this discussion. You know, when Eagles training camp starts, that is like the unofficial end of the summer, is it not?
For me, it is. For you, it is. For most people, it's still that appetizer, you know, a long appetizer before a main course. But yeah, for us, it's just like diving back in.
Yeah, well, you guys dove into some offensive players fighting for roster spots on the latest Inside the Birds podcast. This one I liked a lot because, you know, let's kind of throw some of the guys out there that you discussed. One of them is Dameon Pierce and Elijah Moore, both running backs here. And every time a team signs a guy that you've heard of or had one good season, Dameon Pierce was a rookie, had a big year in Houston. Elijah Moore is a guy that people have heard of. You know, when you sign guys like
Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Moore is the wide receiver. Did you mean Elijah Mitchell?
Elijah Mitchell, yes, the running back.
Yeah.
Both guys have had some microcosm of success or have been heard of. Do you feel that either of those two running backs have a shot to do anything on this particular roster, or are they here mainly to fill a training camp roster spot?
Yeah, I mean, mainly as camp bodies. You know, obviously Pierce is a Florida Gator, so you know how he loves his Florida Gators, and to give them a shot. Mitchell is different. He knows the scheme from his time with the 49ers. I believe he spent some time with the Dolphins, although I don't know how much he got on the field with them, but he knows the new scheme that Sean Mannion is implementing. But you've got your top three. You have Saquon Barkley, you have Tank Bigsby, you have Will Shipley. And the question is any of them, as in the spirit of our podcast is who is most on the bubble? Are any of those three guys at all pushable to be off the 53? I don't see it. Will Shipley, you could say, has not been really what they expected yet after 2 years. You know, a pass-catching running back who had some juice. Could he potentially be pushed? I don't think so. He's still a valuable kick returner. Dameon Pierce is a guy who had a really nice rookie year. We've seen that from running backs, though. Really high volume running backs on teams that weren't very good. He doesn't really fit a wide zone scheme or a zone blocking scheme in general, unless it's just pounded inside the gut, which is not what the Eagles are going to be predominantly like they used to be. So he's there. He's a guy that even if you loved him coming out of camp, you could probably get him back on your practice squad. No need to keep him on the 53. And I would say the same thing about Mitchell, who's had to deal with a lot of injuries. He's there because he knows the scheme, but no one's going to push those top three guys for spots.
Well, it's like Pierce is probably like, hey, can I beat Bigsby? And Mitchell would be like, can I beat out Shipley? Right? Like that's who they would be in battle with.
I'm sure in their minds, yes, that is the question they are asking. But realistically, the answer is already no.
Let's go to Elijah Moore because we did reference Elijah Mitchell, but Elijah Moore is also here. He was a guy they signed. He's had some success. I think he was a second-round pick. You got Smith. You got Lemon, Hollywood Brown, Darius Cooper, Covey, you know, maybe Danny Gray's been around. I mean, you've got some guys, Johnny Wilson, Datavian Wicks, Quez Watkins. But as a guy like Elijah Moore, even Quez Watkins, do you look at those guys as having any shot of making a team like this?
No, almost none, because the Eagles are going to be going heavy at other positions. And just as you mentioned now, they have 4 wide receivers who are pretty much locked into spots. Devontae Smith, Dontavian Wicks, Mekhi Lemon, and Marquise Brown. So most teams will keep, if they're going to go more than 4, they're going to keep 5 or 6. And those 2 extra guys are going to be guys who mostly contribute on special teams. And then every once in a while, if you're going to run some 10 personnel, you're going to go 5 wide. Yeah, you want some guy who can stretch the field there. The Eagles do have some guys among those reserves that you mentioned who can stretch the field, but not really special teamers, not really punt returners that they're going to consider. The guys who can excel on special teams are your Darius Coopers and your Johnny Wilsons. Johnny Wilson can also play a role as a blocker. You know, he's kind of a pseudo tight end in a wide receiver body. They're younger. They're more cost controlled. They have better days ahead potentially. So those would be the guys that you would look to really push for those kind of spots. Elijah Moore is only 26, which is surprising because it feels like he's been around forever. He's been on a couple of different teams already. Everybody remembers him as a second-round pick out of Ole Miss. But the reality is, if he's not going to contribute on special teams, how is he going to get himself into that top 4 in the pecking order? And without a bunch of injuries in camp, it's just hard to see it.
He's a guy, too, Moshe, over a 2-year span, had 206 targets. He had 60 catches, 59 catches. I mean, that's a pretty productive player, much more productive than any third receiver the Eagles have had in recent years.
Well, it's a strange dynamic that he's been more productive than any third receiver the Eagles had in years, and yet you would say he's been an unproductive player given his draft pedigree, right? For as a high second-round pick, you would have probably expected more. But he's been on some bad teams, too. Some bad quarterback play.
You're playing with the Jets in Cleveland.
I can understand the potential there.
Right. You're playing with the Jets in Cleveland. It's like, hey, can I get you in a much better environment? Now, in Buffalo last year, obviously, he didn't do anything with them. But he's an interesting guy for everybody to keep an eye on as we get ready for camp. Let's go to another
skill. That's got to be a red flag, by the way, that you went to Buffalo, who had like no wide receivers. You know, they're basically riding Brandon Cooks there at the end and doing a lot of that, and he couldn't even really carve his niche there. So that's got to be a red flag as to maybe it's not always just the quarterback and the offense. Maybe the player himself just hasn't fulfilled the potential.
Mosher, football at 4. Let's go to Calcaterra. He almost seems like it's a rite of passage that he has made this team. Is he in a battle with Munt, who's a blocker? Is he in a battle with Stowers, who's a draft pick, or is he not here?
I mean, yes to all of that, potentially all of that. I made the point in the podcast this morning that sometimes people get hung up on when a player signs, and he signed very early in the process. In fact, he either signed like a day before or a day after the new league year began. I can't exactly remember. And I think that makes people think, oh, he must have been a top priority to bring back. But no, the Eagles just didn't have a lot of bodies at tight end, and they still don't have a lot of bodies who are beyond 1-year deals, right? I mean, it's basically just their second-round pick, Eli Stowers, who you can guarantee is going to be on the team at this time next year. So they needed to have bodies. He's a guy they're familiar with. Now, Adam made a great point. They didn't really have to bring him back there. They could have waited. It's not like there was going to be a huge demand for Calcaterra, and then you may have even got him for less of a signing bonus than you already got, but it was a small signing bonus. He's part of a group of bodies that the team has to figure out what they need. They need blockers. They need pass catchers. They seem to have one or the other. They don't have a lot of guys who can do both. And so there'll be an opportunity for him to make the team, but there's also an equal opportunity for him to not make the team if they're comfortable with what they have in Goddard, in Stowers, and then maybe a Munt or a Cam Latu. Latu being one of the few guys who can do both. Even if he doesn't do any one of those extraordinarily well, he can at least do both of those things.
Yeah, well, you almost wonder with Eli Stowers being a second-round pick, how do you keep 2 guys that are pass-catching tight ends first that aren't the starter over a guy that blocks, right?
Yeah, especially if you're not sure that Dallas Goedert is going to become a good blocker again. I mean, he really regressed in that area last year. And if you have doubts that it's going to be that good or if it's going to be like last year or even worse, if you feel that way, then you may want to assure your number 3 tight end is a guy who can definitely block. And obviously that's not Grant Calcaterra.
All right, the other spots. All right, I would have break these down like So Mailata and Lane. Lane obviously missed a lot of time last year. They had to go trade for Fred Johnson and bring him in so that he could handle playing some more spots here. But they did draft 2 guys, Miles Hinton and Cam Williams. So are those guys in the battle to be behind Fred Johnson? Are they battling each other and one makes the team? How do you look at the tackle spot behind the starters?
Yeah, and those 2 guys, since the tackle spot is you've got Lane, you've got Mailata, you've got the 3rd-round pick, Markel Bell, you have Fred Johnson, okay? So anybody else has to prove that they can knock, I guess, essentially Fred Johnson, because the other first 3 are guaranteed spots. Can you knock Fred Johnson out? Can the Eagles agree with Fred's agent, I think it's Drew Rosenhaus, to say, hey, we want to keep some guy here, we're going to release you, you're a vested vet, so you're not subject to waivers, and we can just re-sign you to the practice squad, decent salary, pay you more than anybody else. And within the first 3 weeks, we know there'll be some injuries or some movement, and we'll have you back on the 53. So that's up to whether or not they feel a Hinton, who they're also cross-training a guard, or Cameron Williams, who played in that season finale and actually did okay for expectations. Did they make enough of progress in year 2 that it's even worth having that conversation with Fred Johnson and his agent, or is it those guys just didn't impress and we've got our 4 guys and we can probably bring those guys both back on a practice squad, Hinton, Williams, and try to continue to develop them.
All right, interior spots. I find this to be very interesting. You got Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Landon Dickerson. If you were to ask people who are the backups there, I don't know that on July 20th anybody can give you a real answer there.
I mean, I think Drew Kendall has established himself so far as the top backup. They drafted him to be a center last year, a backup center. They're cross-training McGarry. They're pleased with his development. He's been playing a lot of guard in the OTAs because obviously Cam Jurgens is expected to be a center, and they need more depth at guard given Landon Dickerson's injury situation. And they like him. So he's the guy at the top of the chart for now. They drafted Micah Morris in the 6th round, great athlete for the position, just not a lot of experience, but he'll fight to make the team. But I would agree with you, they're really lacking in the kind of veteran presence that they have had there in the past, whether it's a Steph Wisniewski or when they signed Mekhi Becton, I don't think they assumed he was definitely going to start. They just figured he would be someone who compete for a job and maybe be a good backup on a 1-year deal. And then he wound up being a starter, and that pushed Steen into a nice high pick who is your backup. They don't have that right now. They have to find it. And it wouldn't surprise me if they still tried to. They did add the veteran guard, Michael Jordan. So I should mention that, but we'll see what he's got. So they have names, Mike. They just have to figure out who's going to rise to the top. But I'm going into camp, Drew Kendall is certainly a guy who's not, I wouldn't say should be worried about making the 53. It's the guys below him.
All right. Last guy on the offense of terms of battles. Is Cole Payton battling anybody to try to make this team?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Because he's so raw. I mean, he's so developmental. He's a project. I mean, he could go out there and look like Clayton Thorson, circa 2019, a 4th-round pick that the Eagles cut. Was it 4th or 5th? Forget what it was. But either way, it wasn't like a throwaway 6th or 7th round pick. It was a pick that they were hoping would work out, and they cut him after his first year because he couldn't play. They did it with the 6th-round quarterback last year, McCord. So, I mean, it's very unlikely to me because they know he's a project. They know he's developmental, and he has a tremendous amount of athletic ability that they're going to want to groom. But if he's terrible, he's not going to make it. I mean, they have 4 quarterbacks right now, and it's weird for a team to keep 4. So he certainly has to prove himself, at least worthy of being on the 53, and that he has to show in camp that he is taking to the coaching and is not going to go 2 weeks without hitting the broadside of a barn.
Those are some of the things that we're looking at as camp starts next Tuesday. And of course, Football at 4 has you covered, and the guys from the Inside the Birds podcast always have you covered on all podcasting platforms. Geoff Mosher, talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, Mike. Take care. Thanks.
All right, he's back Wednesday. We'll take a look at some of the battles that are going to be happening with some off-the-radar guys. Those are the off-the-radar guys, rookies, guys that they signed in the offseason, later round picks from a year or so ago, guys who didn't have much of a role that maybe we don't remember their names, but they'll be coming into the lexicon here in about a week or so. Hurts, Barkley, Smith, Lemon, Wicks, Goddard. They're your starter in the skill position spots. After that, what happens with Tanner McKee? What happens with those receivers? Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, Johnny Wilson, Darius Cooper, Quez Watkins is back here. Those are 5 guys who have all been on NFL rosters. We talked about Eli Stowers being the second-round pick. Grant Calcaterra, they brought him back. Is he a guy that they want to be here? So that's something else to kind of keep an eye on as well. Thanks to Moshe, as always, for the football at 4. And here's something else. And on the offensive line, we don't get too deep or technical, but I would keep this in mind. Hinton and Cam Williams are both tackles. You have Markel Bell and Fred Johnson. You keep 4 backup tackles? Probably not. So keep that in mind. Then there's Michael Jordan, Drew Kendall. Remember Willie Lampkin? He was the guy they signed last year, and that was kind of a shady type of situation from the Rams. Does he make this team? So you got Jordan and Kendall. There's not a lot of guys that they drafted in those backup interior spots. A lot of times you try to find spots for the guys that you drafted. They don't have a lot of guys that they draft. Kendall's the only one that they drafted that could play center, so he has a shot. So those are all things that we're going to be watching next week. We'll do the defense later on this week here on the Sports Bash Live. We'll probably talk more about it with Adam tomorrow as well. 609-403-0973. Chuck and Marmora chiming in on the tents. He said, tents are fine. I've lived at the beach my whole life. Born and raised in Sea Isle. People have always been taking up too much space. If it's an issue, get there earlier so you get a better spot. Many of those tents are people spending 8 hours in the sun. Respite is needed. They are also probably spending $10,000, and that's a low estimate. So if they want to be comfortable and have fun, they deserve to. That's from Chuck and Marmora. Sounds like a guy who's bringing a tent to the beach.
He is right, though. A lot of those tents are people who they're invested. Like I have some buddies of mine. They do this all summer long. I mean, they're out there from like 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah, like I have seen that world where you get there, you find your spot, you sent the tent up, and you're not like a lot of times from my experience too. Like you get somebody, it's generally like a person who someone in the group can't be out in the sun, they need to be protected, and
or someone who has kids, for example.
That too. Yeah, I'm not enraged now. We did have somebody who's watching on YouTube, so I'll bring up some of the YouTube commenters as well. This one's from Jeff. He says he completely agrees with, I believe, Pat Costello. He says, idiots on the beach never know how to properly place them so they don't blow around and hit people. He said, literally last weekend, a big tent blew and almost hit me and my girlfriend. I had to jump up and help them control the blowing tent.
So what I would say to Jeff is that's not a regular tent person. Because the real tent people, they got weights, they got anchors on their tents, keeping those things in the ground.
Just because there are people who are real tent people and are not, that doesn't mean that the untrained tent people aren't there with the potential of injuring somebody. You're only taking it from the angle of they should know how to do it. That doesn't mean they do know how to do it.
So we should just get rid of all tents because there's a
No, I'm not on the side of that. I'm saying it is quite plausible that there are plenty of people out there who maybe are a little liquidly lubricated and they're putting that tent up and then they're not putting it in right.
I think calling it plenty is a bit of an exaggeration. That's all.
Just saying, it's happened. I definitely can see the tent blowing down the street.
Listen, I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying from my years of experience on the beach, it's very rare. I see way more umbrellas blowing away than I've ever seen.
I do agree.
Tents.
The umbrella is more of a, hey, the wind goes up under it and yanks it right out of the ground.
Right.
And it blows down or whatever. The umbrella to me is almost more of a hazard or with the potential to injure than the tent.
The potential too.
Yeah. Now, I mean, some of these people are getting like, tents that you would use for like a craft show and bringing it down to the beach.
Of course they are. Yeah. And again, but a lot of them, like you said, it's people who some family member can't be out in the sun. They have kids, like little kids, for example, or whatever it might be. But again, these are also people who are there 8-10 hours. There's very few people who are heading down to the beach for like 3 hours or 4 hours with a whole massive setup.
See, like if I'm going to the beach, generally, it's a all day thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there early.
It's an investment.
I'm not leaving until 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Right. I'm staying there, lights off, everybody gone.
Same.
Yeah. That's the way you go.
That's what I do.
Pretty much. Like it's my day. I'm not going to the beach, then going home and then going out later at night. If I'm going to the beach, it's because I'm going. That's my day. That's my day out.
And listen, I know there are people who do that. Nothing against them. There are people who they bring their chairs, they bring their towels, they're there for 3-4 hours, and then they leave and they got other things to do.
Yeah, see, once I'm at the beach, my day's over. The sun hits me, I'm done. I'm not going out to dinner. I'm not going out afterwards. That's my out right there. You got me at the beach. I want it to be, got the mini grill, got that bad boy ready to go. I don't really think that we've ever, I don't recall bringing a full tent to the beach. Umbrella's been down there. That's because people in the stable needed the umbrella to cover the skin.
Right.
But I don't want to see the umbrella blowing down the beach.
Right. That's why, again, whether it's tent or umbrella, you just got to anchor these things down. And if you invest in the tent or the umbrella, you might as well invest in it.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that do. They go to the beach with or without a tent, then they go to Maynard's. Cheers to 60 years, Maynard's in Margate. Join the party. Sunday, August 2nd, live music starts at 2. Drink specials all day and your chance to win birds and concert tickets. Cheers to 60 years. Maynard's in Margate. Perfect spot after the beach. Now, if I'm going to leave the beach and walk, maybe Maynard's out there in the little Starlight Cafe outside, out back. Not a bad compromise. Go to the beach for a little bit and walk there because you wear your beach clothes there. I don't have to go home and shower for that. Just hang out. Good people. All right, coming up, Nuggets is here. Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Tim in Somers Point chimes in real quick. Says, Mike, I'm totally cool with umbrellas and tents. There's a lot of people that need to protect from the sun. Sun can be crazy dangerous. What I'm totally over is music and drinking on the beach, and you and your listeners can totally disagree with me on that, but I don't ever need to take it to Margaritaville ever again. Yeah, I don't need your loud music. I don't need you to bring the music that takes over the whole beach. Right? You want to bring a little clip-on thing that goes to the back of your chair, that's fine. I don't need you bringing the boombox and DJing for the whole block. That's not necessary. So I'll agree with that. Hey, you want to bring a little cooler, sit down, that's fine. Don't get out of control.
Yeah, I think it goes with anything, right? Don't be the person who gets out of control and ruins anything for everyone.
All right, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we gave you the Phillies lineup brought to you by Chachi's, 13th floor, coming soon to Rafici's. Text your name and where you're from to 609-403-0973. If the Phillies scored exactly 13 runs tonight, you can win $100 gift card to Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's. And if the Phillies don't score, who was our winner on Friday? You forget.
John in Avalon.
John in Avalon won a $25 gift card just for playing last week.
I mean, you accused me of forgetting.
Well, your face looked like you didn't remember.
No, my face looked like I was trying to go back in the memory bank.
Okay. Well, you pulled it out of your, you know what. Nuggets is coming up next right here on the Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. 31. Don't forget, next Wednesday, the 29th, the Sports Bash is live at Ventnor Social. Stop out there to try to win a trip to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Right now, it's time for Knicks Nuggets on a Sports Bash Monday. Hey, let me tell you, my friends over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. My friend Rocco's over there, and his team have built a loyal fan base of repeat customers. Be one of those repeat customers because Acura delivers the kind of performance, precision, and dependability you know you can count on. You've always talked about, I need to get an Acura. Well, the team at Key Acura has outstanding customer service. Go see for yourself. Key Acura of Atlantic City, the small but friendly dealer. Tilton Road, EHC, online, Key Acura of Atlantic City.com. All right, time for the Nuggets today. Earnshaw's here. Let's see what Nuggets he brings to the table on this Monday edition on Knicks Nuggets. What's going on, Nick?
What's going on, Mr. Mike Gill? And, I got my All-Star Game quarter zip on today, by the way.
Solid.
Got that on. Got it on today.
Now, see, I would have liked that. I probably would have said, if I got that one right there, got the All-Star Game logo, I would have been happy with that.
Full disclosure. I sent you this one. This is the one I texted you. I said, you want this one?
See, the picture looked a little more light grayish. Okay, yeah.
I think you're colorblind. You might be colorblind.
Well, different times the lighting hits stuff differently.
Yeah.
And,
it's all right. Next time. You know what I should be getting you? You know what I can get you next time?
Next time the All-Star Game's in town.
Yeah, next time. You know what I can get you, though? And what I'm going to go buy is the new Field of Dreams uniform. I'm getting one of them. I'm getting a jersey or a shirzy, something.
I know you would that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I heard you with Josh earlier. I mean, just totally off. You two are totally off on this one. I mean, it is awesome. I love this new uniform.
Really?
I think it's fantastic. And and I don't know if you guys saw, but it's from 1939. It is a Phillies uniform. The navy, the red, it is Phillies colors from back in the day. 1939's uniform. I was reading an article in the Inquirer by Matt Breen. He did a nice rundown. Now, I don't know why they picked this year because they were like 50 games under 500. they were not a good team. Oh, fantastic. What are you putting Cristiano Ronaldo's awful sculpture up to it? That's terrible.
When I saw the Phillies logo, the word Phillies, it looked squished in there. The first thing I thought of is Cristiano Ronaldo's eyes on that.
That's funny. I still think the uniform's great. The uniform looks awesome on Bryce right there. Looks awesome.
I actually saw a better picture of the uniform that makes it look worse, actually. I got to find that.
You're not a fan. Well, me and you never agree on uniforms anyway. So if we were on the same coaching staff,
I don't mind the color scheme. I like the color scheme. I think the font of the word Phillies is awkwardly squished in there.
See, I like that. I think it's different, unique. It's a little throwbacky. I think they're fantastic. So if you have not seen or you're not watching on YouTube or the X platform at 973 at Mike Gill Show,
now, real quick,
look it up.
I got to address somebody who messaged us on the app, okay?
Okay.
This is from Jack in K-May Courthouse. He says, guys, I'm listening on the app. How do I watch on YouTube?
At 973 ESPN. Yeah, YouTube, type in 973.
And at the top of the page in the search bar, just type in 973 ESPN, and our YouTube page will come up. And you'll see it says live. You click on the live, and you'll be able to watch us live.
Very easy. Very easy. Go right there, and you can see our beautiful faces. They are faces for radio. That's for damn sure. But back to the uniforms, okay? How are you guys out on this? I think they're fantastic.
I just told you why. I think the font is too squished together.
No, I like the squish. I think it looks cool. It's different. It's unique. It's something that we haven't seen in a while since 1939.
I said if they just took that color scheme and everything and had the lettering normal and not on a slant, but more bang, I think I would have liked it. I think
they should make these the regular away uniforms, to be honest.
Sure. I mean, just do what I said, and that would be fine. They would be fine.
I like these uniforms. It's just the year, not good. No, they were not a good baseball team that year. They were very bad.
To me is insignificant.
I think it's a bad omen. All right, it's a bad omen. 1939, not a very good team. They lost 30 of their final 37 games that year, more than 50 games back to go to the pennant. Because remember, they went right to the pennant and then to the World Series back then. Went right to the World Series, I should say, to win the pennant. Not the greatest year, but I will say this was a strong look. It's a strong look for the Fightins.
It was close. It's right there. I actually, said before, I'm not a big fan of the red, but okay, the red is the same red for the most part. I do like the navy blue, so I'm not out on the navy blue. I don't like it on the City Connects, but I do like it. I don't mind it for this.
Now, would you take these uniforms over the City Connects?
Yeah, 1,000%. Those City Connects are an embarrassment to our city, and anybody who puts any money into the pocket of the Phillies and supports them with those uniforms, you're an embarrassment as well.
All right, I'm with you on that one. That's where we can agree on the uniforms. I don't like the City Connects either. I think these are 10 times better, and the jerseys are fantastic. They're navy blue. They got
like
the squish.
those. I saw the navy blue tee, and that one I believe will be purchased. Now, I don't want the name on the back. I'm not a jersey with the name. I've been looking for the navy blue with no name on the back.
Put your name on there. Is that a violation?
No
Get the custom.
way. No way.
Get the custom. Put
now,
Gil.
I did update the picture, okay? Updated the picture for the people. Let's see if I can do this while I'm hosting the show at the same exact time here. Let me see if I can get the file. Yeah, I can multitask. I'm good at that. All right.
You know who's not good at that?
Who's that?
You know who's not good at multitasking? The guy on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, no. Okay, there you go. See how the font, it's too squished in there. Like there's more room.
That picture that you have up there right now, it doesn't look like that in the other pictures, though.
I disagree.
When they're wearing it doesn't look that small. See, the picture you have up right now, if you're watching on the YouTube channel or X, that looks really small.
If you're watching the YouTube and you see the picture, do you see why I don't like it?
See, that looks really small, but then if you look at like the pictures of Schwarber and Harper, the font doesn't look that small compared to the size of the jersey.
I don't agree with that. I brought the Harper one up before, and I said it looks like it's squished like Ronaldo's eyes.
You know what? I'm gonna have to. Maybe I'm gonna have to multitask right now. I'm gonna have to multitask right now.
See it right there. You see the picture.
Yeah, but that one looks doctored. You might have found a different one. I'm gonna find a different one with Schwarber wearing it. All right.
Nope.
Because I'm looking at the one in the Inquirer right now, and Schwarber's Phillies logo across the chest does not look that small. It just doesn't.
It just looks bunched together. That's the way it looks to me.
I like it. I think, but the jerseys are really strong. I'm not going to go jersey, but the jersey I'm in.
I agree with the navy. I'm more of a fan of the navy blue than the Phillies blue. I don't really like a royal blue as much. I like the navy blue. I wish that was more of their primary color.
Right. Yeah, I think the navy blue is a strong look.
People are watching on YouTube, and you just kind of stumbled across this on YouTube. Are you wondering why the hell Ronaldo's statue was up there with Now, if you're listening on the radio, what ridiculous. I want you to do is I want you to search Ronaldo's statue and then Phillies Field of Dream jersey and see if you know what I'm talking about when I say the Phillies logo that says Phillies across the front. It looks like it's squished and squeezed, much like Ronaldo's eyes look like they're squeezed onto this statue.
Now, I added a tab at the bottom. If you could add it to the screen, I also did a little Google search for you on the jersey. If you want to add that. So there you go. There's the jersey.
I do like the blue. Again, the squished nature of the word Phillies, and I don't like it being angled like that. I feel like it was like my little league team with the tail on the end there.
Now, if you look at the jersey there with Harper, the font doesn't look as small.
I can't tell.
Yeah, I think you're fibbing over there. Anyway. I think you're fibbing. I think I beat you in that one. I don't think it's going to be that small. I think that was like a doctored photo, it felt like. But teach their own. I will be getting a jersey. And if I see one in the store, I'll send you a picture. And hopefully it's the right color. It doesn't look great.
If it's that navy blue with the red on it, I want one with no name on the back, though.
All right.
No name on the back.
I know you're not a name guy. I get it. I understand. I'll look.
Guarantee now. Harper or Schwarber, I would guarantee are here for at least the duration of the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's strong. You can't go wrong there. All right, moving along. Nugget number 2. We're still on LeBron watch. We're on day whatever at this point. But we do have some updates. Shams Charania is he's now in the mix again with another update. Seems like the same thing, just copy and paste, change the words around at this point. But he also says the focus remains on Miami, Cleveland, and Philadelphia. And he spoke with Rich Paul today that LeBron said he still has not made a decision, and there's no time frame on when that will be. But Philadelphia seems to be in the mix all the time. They're always mentioned with every new report or copy and paste report and just update. Philadelphia is always mentioned. And then Brian Windhorst was on earlier, and he mentioned Philadelphia as well.
I do think, however, he has seriously considered Philly. He absolutely has had conversations with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and Jaylen Brown. But he's also had conversations with players on other teams. And so that's what makes this decision so fascinating is you can make a reasonable case for Philadelphia. You can make a reasonable case for Miami. And of course, the case for Cleveland is very strong because he's from there.
So those are some of the latest updates from Windy on ESPN, from Shams. This is where we are at. And also, John Clark over the weekend said that Josh Harris, the owner of the Sixers, had a brief conversation with him at Fanatics Fest. And if you look at it, it seems like the Sixers have had the most contact with the LeBron camp from their owner, from their president of basketball operations, or president of sports, I should say, which is what Bob Myers is. It seems like they've had the most contact with LeBron's camp or LeBron himself, other than just voice memos that other teams have sent him.
I don't know what to think at this point other than I'm going to go off of the thought that I had last week, that I'm at about 70% that he's going to play for the Sixers. All of these, this, that, the other thing, he's going here, he's going there, they're still in the mix. They're in the mix. There's 3 teams that are in the mix, maybe Golden State if you want to throw them on the periphery. Nobody has Maxey. Nobody has Bob Myers. Nobody has a history that needs a championship more than the Sixers do. Finish the story and become the first player in NBA history to win 4 titles with 4 different teams. He would be the only one that do it, and he can forever say, I'm the only one that has ever done that.
Now, did you see Pat Bev throwing his name into the LeBron just report slop? Did you see? He tweeted out earlier today, rumor has it, Bron makes his decision today with the eyes. I think it's BS.
I have seen that, and I don't know what Pat Bev thinks he knows. I mean, did they play together in Cleveland at some point? Or LA? Where did they play together?
I don't know. Did they play together?
When did those 2 guys possibly play together? No, I mean, obviously they have let's see. He played with the Lakers together in 2022, 2023.
Interesting.
Briefly, for 45 games.
Okay. So that could be something, but I don't know. I'm not trusting Pat Bev on this one. I'll trust Shams, Windy, and all those guys first, and Rich Paul.
Yeah. Now, Pat Bev says the rumors that LeBron is making his decision today. I wouldn't be shocked if it's today. I wouldn't be shocked if he's wrong. Everyone's just throwing stuff at the old window there, hoping something sticks. And I'm not living my life waiting for LeBron. If it happens, it happens. I'm not one of these people that's mad. I'm not one of these people that's like, get it over with already. The guy's 41 years old. He knows his career's coming to the end. Take as long as you need. Keep yourself out there as much as you have to.
Now, are you getting a little annoyed by the whole thing at this point?
No, not at all.
Not one
Don't
bit?
care. No, what do I care?
But the fact that he's in with the Sixers are in the mix here. I'm only getting a little let's go, Bron. All right, it's been a while. We're approaching August now. I mean, we're getting into August almost, and he still hasn't made up his mind.
If he really wants to play here, he better do it before the Eagles season starts, because otherwise it's not going to make the same impact. Now he's waiting. There's not much going on. Now the Phillies are playing the Dodgers and the Yankees this week. I don't know. Can he jump back? Can he say, hey, I'm bigger than the Dodgers and the Yankees?
I think that would happen. I think he could be bigger than the Dodgers and Yankees. Wherever LeBron
Got about
goes.
a week to go before the Eagles begin, where he can own the news cycle for probably the rest of the week. You might want to get that done.
Yeah, you might want to hurry up here, release those podcast episodes so you're not stepping on the view totals.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
Yep.
The one podcast is coming out tomorrow. So the Halliburton one comes out tomorrow.
Yes. All right. It's going to be fascinating. All right. Next nugget.
Sometime either tomorrow or Wednesday.
I think later in the week we'll find out. That's my prediction. We'll see.
It's not going to be on Friday news, though.
No. I think Wednesday or Thursday is my guess. So we'll see. All right. Moving along. Nugget number 3. Did you see this? ESPN 30 for 30 podcasts is coming out with a new 6-part investigative series, Mr. Mike Gill, and it's called The Betrayal of Shohei Ohtani. 6-part investigative series, never before heard audio from Ipe Muzahara's only interview on the 24 gambling scandal and more. It's going to premiere July 28th. Are you in on this one? I'm fascinated by this.
All right, so Josh brought this up earlier today. I didn't. You know what's funny? I never even thought about the gambling thing.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking, like, what's this betrayal? Why is this something? I didn't even think this is all centered around the gambling thing.
Yes,
so
that's what it is around.
Is it supposed to put Ohtani in a bad light?
No, I don't know. I think it's showing Shohei as the victim here because of the interpreter, and it's all about the interpreter and what he did to, make Shohei the victim here.
2 years later, do we think that Ohtani had nothing to do with this?
I want to listen to this. I find it hard to believe, but at this point, wherever Shohei, he hadn't gotten in any trouble. Nothing else happened. This kind of got swept under the rug, and now we're going to hear some more stuff. And, whether you believe it or not, he took the fall for it. The interpreter took the fall for the entire thing. So as of right now, that's where it stands. That's where I'm going to look at.
Yeah. At the time when this happened, it was almost unfathomable to think that he knew nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what to think. He's still playing. The Dodgers are coming to town. This comes out actually July 28th. So I want to hear this and see which way it kind of goes with the whole entire thing. I think it's going to be very interesting. Never before heard audio for this.
With the interpreter.
Yes. His only interview.
Tisha Thompson, apparently.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep. I'm in. I'm listening to it. I'll watch.
Is it a podcast or is it video?
Just a podcast. I don't know if there's going to be video. It's just 30 for 30 podcasts. So could just be audio.
Got it. All right.
There you go.
I probably will give it a listen.
All right. We'll get to my other nugget tomorrow. I know we're running out of time.
How many parts is it?
6-part investigative series.
It's got to be something there. Is this a Pablo Torre finds out rival?
Esque, yeah. Could be another rival to that show,
Gotcha. All
right. We'll talk about the 5th starter tomorrow because I have a lot of problems with the Phillies pitching staff at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be something. Something.
10 straight. By the way, I was tweeting back and forth Phil's tailgate yesterday. They've now lost 10 straight games with the 5th starter spot.
What's their record? 1-15 with the
horrible.
5-20 in the 5th starter spot.
Yep, 10 straight losses.
They are 25 games over 500 when anybody other than the 5th starter pitches. That includes Nola.
Yep. It's unbelievable. It's how bad their 5th starter spot's been for
50 and 25.
You can't make it up. Can't make it up. All right, there you go, Mike. Nuggets.
All right, there's Nuggets today. They're back again tomorrow here on the Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. I get that they need to do something about the 5th starter spot. I just don't know that they can neglect other things that they need ahead of that. That's where they have a little bit of a problem here. is that they need the fifth starter spot, but they also have other things that they have to upgrade that are probably more important than the fifth starter because the fifth starter doesn't ever really pitch in the playoffs. So that's why that's a tricky situation. Let me tell you about my friends at the Branches Outreach. They're recovering fresh food from local grocery stores before they go to waste and bringing meals and essential supplies to communities across Cape May County. They're stocking pantry shelves. Last year alone, the Branches Outreach served nearly 14,000 warm meals, provided more than 6,400 pantry distributions, and helped more than 1,500 family members put food on the table. But all that depends on one thing, getting there. That's why the Branches has launched the Road Ahead campaign to purchase a new outreach van that will help recover more food, expand outreach, and bring essential resources to even more people across Cape May County. Visit thebranchesoutreach.org and support the Road Ahead campaign today and keep the branches moving. All right, 5 o'clock, Sports Fast Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phillies Fastball coming up in a half an hour. We'll get the latest on all things Phillies at the ballpark. Jeff Kerr, Oscar Buddha. Jeff's at Citizens Bank Park. He's going to try to jump on. I know Mattingly spoke just moments ago. Give us some updates. Alex McFarland has been called up by the Phillies. And with the state of the bullpen, we wonder how much McFarland will pitch this time around. Now, Mattingly was asked whether or not he thinks that this could be a long-term move for the Phillies. We'll get the update on that. We know Alan Rangel has been sent back to AAA Lehigh, so he is out of the rotation for now, and McFarland is in the bullpen. So will McFarland get an opportunity to pitch at some high-leverage spots? We'll see. Now, the Phillies, keep this in mind. They have owned the Dodgers in this spot. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games in the regular season against the Dodgers at Citizens Bank Park. So you definitely have a situation where the Phillies have done well against the Dodgers here. And think about this. Since April the 28th, which is when the Phillies made their managerial move, the Phillies have been the better team than the Dodgers, believe it or not. Now, the 9-19 start makes their record worse overall. But since April 28th, the Phillies are the second best team in baseball. The Brewers are the best team in baseball, followed by the Phillies, and then the Dodgers. And believe it or not, the White Sox. When the Phillies were 9-19, they had the worst record of the majors through April 27th. Since April 28th, the Phillies are 46-26, a .639 winning percentage. The Brewers have a .667 winning percentage. The Dodgers are .606. So the Phillies have actually been better than the Dodgers have been. They are a Major League Baseball best 19-6 in one-run games this season, including 15-2 since Don Mattingly took over. The big number that we discussed earlier today, the Phillies are 41-14 in games started by Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, or Jesus Luzardo. They are 14-31 in games started by all other pitchers. That has to change. I don't know how it changes. We'll discuss with the Phillies Fastball guys coming up in about a half an hour here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, let's get into Brian Windhorst. Some of the things that he said earlier today, because as we just talked about during the Nuggets segment, this LeBron James thing really needs to get to a completion. As we talked about the fact that they need to get the schedule put together. And LeBron James, is a big part of that. We all know that. So, what are some of the takeaways from the latest from Brian Windhorst here?
So before we lay out what Brian said, I do want to remind folks what he is responding to. So on ESPN television this morning, obviously a lot of people want to get people's reaction to what LeBron said at Fanatic Fest. So for those who may not remember or choose not to remember, this is what LeBron said at Fanatic Fest during the live taping of the podcast called The Shop.
Most important is I want to compete at a high level. I want to, join a franchise that I was myself, and that's practicing championship habits every day, but trusting the process more than anything. I think you trust the process of actually getting to that point. Realize that's the term. That's the term. And by the way, I've been saying trust the process. I was drafted in 2003. I was even born yet.
So that's what LeBron said at Fanatic Fest. It's gotten the whole world in a tizzy. And then Brian Windhorst, who is, for those who may not remember, has covered LeBron since day one of high school, said this about those comments.
LeBron did 3 different shows for 3 total hours and was determined not to give anybody anything. And the fans who came there were determined to get something. They were sitting on the edge of their seat. I promise you, midway through a sentence in the middle of his 3rd hour was not when he was dropping breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Windhorst. I didn't put a lot of stock in him saying trust the process. I thought it was kind of funny that the crowd erupted a little bit there, as we talked a little bit last week, is that is them acknowledging that phrase is ultimately tied to that organization, and they were the ones wondering if him saying that basically uncovered a little bit of a breadcrumb. I don't think that's the case. But the crowd obviously was wondering, oh, are you trying to tell us something here?
Yeah, and like we talked about last Friday, and I talked about on my show on Saturday, hanging with Hennig. To me, LeBron's like a comedian. He's a performer. He's on the stage. He says something once, doesn't get the initial reaction. That kind of circles back to it. They try to drive it home, and then if you watch the video, the smile on his face, like, I got him to react.
Well, see, I still feel that he said that, didn't get any reaction, and then he said it again, and then the fans were like, whoa, I see what you're doing here. Now they caught on, and again, it goes back to that phrase being uniquely tied to that organization. That's the way I saw it. I know you said you don't see it that way. No other team, if you said trust the process, would ever be connected to that term other than one team that happens to be on his list of teams that have interest.
Oh,
by the way,
that part I agree.
Okay,
yes.
So, and by the way, I do want to, I thought about this more over the weekend. One, Fanatics Fest is run by who?
Michael Rubin.
Who was once part of which organization?
The 76ers.
You don't think there's some sort of like, hey, man, that's my team. That's where I'm from. You're at Fanatics Fest. Come on, man. Let's make this happen. Like, the more, I don't think that's been talked about a lot, is the fact that Michael Rubin was a part of the Sixers ownership group. He's the one guy. And by the way, what reporting did we get over the weekend? There was one owner in the league that got a chance to talk to LeBron James. Who was it?
Josh Harris.
Josh Harris.
But still, it was described as a brief, friendly conversation.
Brief and friendly is better than none.
Do you really think Josh Harris talking to him is going to influence his decision?
You're looking at it from, I think, a different perspective than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Harris is a businessman. LeBron James is now a 41-year-old who wants to become a businessman. Whether we like Josh Harris, the owner, or not, he is a very, 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 very successful businessman.
I don't disagree with that.
Do you don't think that LeBron at this stage of his career also would value the possibility or the opportunity to have some sort of connection or landing spot that he can go right into when he's done?
I don't disagree with any of that. But my thing is, do you think that's being verbalized in a brief, friendly conversation?
Maybe not, but maybe LeBron is giving him the door because he does say, man, this guy, if I can figure a way, no, he's LeBron James, doesn't have to figure a way, but hey, let me just make that connection to see if I'm getting good vibes from this guy or not.
Okay. So you feel it's more about LeBron getting the feel than Josh Harris.
Sure. I mean, listen, if you just watch Josh Harris speak on television, you're probably not getting great vibes.
Right.
Let's be honest. He doesn't present himself in this very confident voice and way. We all can acknowledge
what you're saying, maybe when the cameras are not on and it's LeBron and Josh for about 60 seconds, when no one's really paying too much attention, maybe it's a different vibe.
Sure. And I think Bob Myers is not, listen, I have been critical of Bob Myers in some aspects that, look, he had not drafted very well. The team was kind of put together when he won those 4 championships. So I think he gets a lot of credit for the Golden State stuff that maybe was kind of there in place when he took over. That being said, he does get the credit. And that cred is well known that he won 4 championships while being the president of that organization. You can't discount that. And LeBron at this stage of his career doesn't want to go to a circus. He doesn't want to go to a place where it doesn't have strong leadership in place. Now, I do think that Miami offers that. I do think that Philadelphia somehow now offers that. I don't know that 4 months ago that Philadelphia offered that with Daryl Morey in charge, because LeBron might have looked at that situation and says, I don't want to get a part of this. There are some players who don't like the analytics that Morey is so attached to.
But it's also the layers of people involved too. And to me, that's the bigger factor is yeah, I'm not trying to discount the Josh Harris thing, but to me, it's more of you didn't just get rid of Daryl Morey. It's who you replaced him with. And it's not just who you replaced him with, it's who that guy went and grabbed. And it's not just who that guy went and grabbed, it's the guy that went and traded for. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not just Daryl Morey, it's the Gansey, it's the Jameer Nelson, it's the Jalen Brown, it's the, you know what I mean? It's like there's so many layers to it.
Everything the Sixers have done since dismissing Daryl Morey has been an adult decision.
Yes.
They went out and got Bob Myers. The perception is he's a champion. He's a winner. Then they go get Mike Gansey, which I don't know how that was met. So I'm not here to say that was a great move or not a great move. But what I will say is 4 days later, however many days after he gets hired, they make a big boy trade to say, we're for real.
Right.
So you have the Myers move. Gansey goes and gets Jalen Brown. Those two decisions right away change the entire perception of the organization.
Exactly.
And it put them in a spot to where we could say, we're going to call Rich Paul and say, hey, we went and got Bob Myers. We hired Mike Gansey. He went and got Jalen Brown. And now we are very interested in your client and he's interested in us.
Who happens to be the same agent as one of our star players, Tyrese Maxey.
Sure. Has the same agent as one of our star players. So those two guys are starting to talk. And by the way, you go all the way through all the things on the list. He's at Fanatics Fest. Michael Rubin, former Sixers, part of the Sixers ownership group. I'm sure at some point, come on, LeBron can play for my hometown team. You know, Michael Rubin is certainly a guy who's unabashedly from Philadelphia and lets people, understand that.
And that's why I think the Michael Rubin part of it to me is more, I think that has more weight than the Josh Harris thing. Because we know that LeBron and Rubin have had plenty of conversations over the years.
Sure, because Michael Rubin had said, hey, just talk to Josh 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. But I do think Michael Rubin could also, be like a personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Not endorsement, but kind of like a letter of recommendation. You know what I mean? To be like, look, LeBron, if you're serious about this business stuff, this guy's a businessman. Like, no offense to these other owners.
Sure.
But Josh, I think the Michael Rubin has a lot of weight to this. I agree with that.
I think he has some weight that has not been discussed because of the Fanatics Fest and him being a big part of the Fanatics Fest. He was there multiple days.
3 days.
Some of these guys, they do their one day and they get out of there.
Oh, how about Brady hanging around for 3 days too?
Yeah, Brady's post New England career and post playing career has certainly taken a turn.
I'm impressed. I like the fact that he's kind of embraced the idea of, hey, I'm going to be visible and I'm going to be out there doing stuff.
I saw somebody wonder. I can't remember where I saw this from. Somebody wondering about if Brady didn't play in New England the whole time, whether or not he would have had these bizarre stories following him like forever.
100%.
Like during his here it is. Nick Cattles, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago from the Locked On Patriots pod. He says, after the last year or so, I wonder if Tom Brady would have handled himself much differently as his NFL career went on if he wasn't in New England. Playing for Bill Belichick might have kept us all shielded from this weird, look at me, I'll do anything for money version of TB12.
I mean, I disagree a little because I don't think it's all money, look at me. I think it's more of I think Brady's having fun. I think Brady realizes, like, he can get a paycheck, just show up for one thing and then leave. He doesn't have to get in the casket and rise up as the Undertaker. Like, he doesn't have to go and slap Logan Paul in the face. I think Brady's living his best post-football life.
Possible. You wonder for a guy who has a job, by the way, and makes $300 million in that job.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Harper thing. The cameo.
Yeah.
What the hell does Harper, who makes $300 million, need to get a $900 cameo request for?
Because he can?
But
does it feed into his ego?
Why waste your time?
Does it feed into his ego? Is that maybe part of it?
It seems so weird to be, hey, I'll give you $900 to record. I get it. It's for 30 seconds, but I mean, he makes $300 million. I don't know. I can never, maybe that's why I'm not a rich man. I can never think in that way that I'm going to do something that is so not worth it for so little money in the grand scheme of what I make and what I'm bringing in there.
But to maybe a guy like a Harper or a Brady, they just enjoy this stuff. Is that possible?
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't get that vibe off of Harper that he's like this guy that wants to go record. Maybe I don't know. He just doesn't seem like that. That being said,
dude, Harper's weird. Harper's a little weirder than you give him credit for.
When you get a check from the Phillies,
yeah,
and then get the $900 check, where does that $900 go?
And to pay off your wife's credit card.
I'm sure the check that he gets from the Phillies can go towards that.
No, that's paying for the house.
Oh, come on. The house payment's a pimple on his rear end.
Oh, stop. He lives in a very expensive house.
Sure he does, but he also makes $25 million a year. He's fine. The $900 check, it's probably like these people who are like, remember the movie, what movies though? Caddyshack, when Chevy Chase's character, she's like, these checks, they're not even like deposited. He's like, keep them. Yeah. He had all these random checks sitting on there. That's him. He's got $900 checks from Cameo sitting on the desk at his house.
I'm sure it gets used for something.
I guess so. At some point, maybe generations from now, like, hey, look at all these $900 checks that no one did anything with.
You want to get back to LeBron?
What else we got?
I wanted to play the other thing. You heard what Windhorst said about LeBron still strongly considering Philadelphia. He went on to say that LeBron is more than interested, though, in Philadelphia.
LeBron has some level of, temptation to go outside the norm here. In other words, it would be a layup to go to Cleveland. And if he picks Cleveland, I think he won't have to do any explaining. I do think he has investigated Philly, and I do think he has looked into the process, so to speak. But no, Shay, I don't think this was anything but he's making a comment in the middle of a long day of content machining.
All the reasons that we discussed. I mean, they have Bob Myers, a championship executive. They made a championship move. The ownership group, I think, is, as much as Sixer fans probably don't agree, I think the ownership group is probably a positive here because of what they do. This Harris Blitzer is more than this. They own the Sixers. They own the Devils. They own the Guardians. They own Blitzer owns the Guardians, not Harris Blitzer, but
it's still connected.
Same thing. They own the Commanders and other stuff too, by the way. This is a whole conglomerate of businesses that LeBron might see at the end of his career that he can not. And now someone might say, well, what if he goes and plays for Miami? You don't think the Sixers, if LeBron called Josh Harris when his playing days are over and said, hey, I'd like to come join Harris Blitzer? Well, of course they would say, yeah, sure, LeBron. But being a part of the organization can certainly get you more acclimated for success.
That, and also the reality that it also probably accelerates that process a little more quickly. LeBron can then spend his 2 years or whatever it is in Philadelphia, and he could sell his stake in the Fenway Group. And then, once they know how much that garnered him, now they know how much money is going to go into the Harris Blitzer Group. Like there's reasons why being in the building sooner probably accelerates the process, just business wise.
I don't know that the other teams in this mix have as much to offer outside of playing for the team.
The only other team that's in this conversation is the Cavs, because I know Dan Gilbert does have ownership stakes, a couple other organizations, but I mean, he already knows that. He doesn't need you or me to tell him that. He was already in Cleveland, so he knows what Dan Gilbert's investment portfolio is.
Yeah, he owns Rocket Mortgage, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't that what
he's
he does?
He's a Quicken Loans guy.
Yeah, but I don't know that LeBron is looking to get into mortgages.
No, but I know I have to look it up. I know Dan Gilbert does have ownership stake in other stuff. Other teams, I mean.
He does have a stake in a AHL hockey team, not an NHL team.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know that he has another professional sports team that he has anything to do with. I know that he has the Rocket Mortgage thing, So that's about all that I know that he does.
He is the majority owner of the Cavs. You mentioned the AHL team. He also has an ownership stake in the NBA's 2K League.
I don't even know what that is.
Esports.
Sure.
He has an ownership stake. He has a very extensive portfolio in real estate.
Which might be something for LeBron, and I'm sure
he
lot
owns
of these
Fathead.
Is that still a thing?
Apparently.
Didn't know that. I thought that thing kind of flamed out. What's bigger, Fanatics or Fathead?
Fanatics.
Yeah.
But we're not being offered him stake in Fanatics.
He could.
Yeah, but he can't do till he's done. Because Fanatics is
this is all for his post-playing career is what I'm talking about, not during his playing career. The Sixers, being attached to the Sixers, offer more in his post-playing career than the other teams in the mix do.
I don't disagree. I just feel like listening to Windhorse, I feel like a lot of what he was saying this morning and what Dave McMenamin was saying over the weekend, how much you saw of that, Mike, but I feel like a lot of that is these guys are trying to explain to people who are not our audience why LeBron would care about the Sixers to a national audience. Because, the national people, like we played the Q Myers audio last week, the national people think it's Cleveland or Miami or Golden State. And I feel like people like Windhorse and people like, or like Rich Paul on his podcast, they're trying to explain to everybody nationally, stop discounting Philadelphia. Philadelphia is in this conversation for a reason.
I think for many of the reasons that I gave. For instance, Mickey Arison, he owns the Heat. He also owns Carnival Cruise Lines.
Yes.
Not exactly, hey, come work for me.
No. But Evan Cohen said it when he was on with you last week. If LeBron's looking for stability, there's a lot of stability there.
That is true. But again, I think the Sixers getting Bob Myers has added to the stability.
That's true.
Right.
Again, the problem at the end of the day is that this whole decision will be made, as LeBron said, about things that are not just basketball. And we'll have to decipher whatever his decision is, what non-basketball things that pushed him one direction or the other. Because he keeps bringing up happiness and all this other stuff. And you're just like, don't you control your own happiness, dude? Like, come on.
Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We got Kerr coming up from the ballpark. I think it's only a Jeff Kerr appearance today, as I just got a text from Oscar. Hopefully he jumps on, but Jeff is at the ballpark, and you'll hear what Don Mattingly had to say about why Alex McFarland's here, what they might do with the fifth spot in the rotation moving forward here. He did discuss all of that, and we'll get into it. And by the way, keep in mind, Jeff Kerr has seen Alex McFarland pitch multiple times at Reading, so he can give us some more insight too. But have they made the decision to skip the fifth starter this week? All of that and more. It's a Sports Bash Live. Our Phillies Fastball segment is coming up next.
His stuff's been really good. I think he's got a really good arm. Obviously, he's young, so we don't really know exactly what to expect. He's got the stuff to build.
Don Mattingly earlier today talking about Alex McFarland, who was up with the Phillies. What will his role be? Jeff Kerr is at the ballpark. Got a chance to catch up with Don Mattingly earlier. He's seen Alex McFarland this year. So what do we think? Let's bring him in now for today's Phillies Fastball. It is brought to you by Ventnor Social. And, of course, you can watch the Phillies at Ventnor Social all season long. We'll be there next Wednesday, the 29th, for a Phillies watch party. And someone's going to walk away with a trip to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yard. There's Jeff Kerr live at the ballpark, Jeff. And obviously the news today, Alex McFarland is up. I don't know if we're surprised or what, but the last time he got called up, he was here for one day. He did not appear. He went back. Is that going to be different this time around?
I think it'll be longer than a day, Mike. I'm not sure how long it will be for, but he is available tonight. He's good to go, and they're probably going to need him because they threw 208 pitches yesterday, which is their most in the game since 2023. So I think they are going to use Alex McFarland probably at some point today. I'm sure they'll probably try to ease him in if they can. Hopefully, there's a big lead or, for him to get him comfortable, but he's ready to go, and I think he'll be here for a couple days while they manage this fifth starter situation. Then they might flip. They might send him back down and then go to a lefty later this week. At least that's the impression I'm getting, but I think it's going to be longer than a day.
Well, okay, so that's interesting because one would wonder if he's up here because the Phillies need a bullpen arm. Do you say, hey, let's see if this guy can help us be that bullpen arm?
I think that's the case, right? And, obviously they weren't going to bring him up because they were afraid of his trade value, but what better way to showcase him than up in the big leagues, right? I know he had his cup of coffee in April, but why not let him go out here and pitch to the Dodgers of all teams? And what if he throws a 101-mile-per-hour sinker or a 102-mile-per-hour fastball and is able to get these guys out, no matter the leverage, right? And I think it's going to be a much lower leverage situation than what we've seen in Reading. He pitched in all the high leverage situations and got the saves and pitched in the eighth inning and stuff. I don't think that's going to be the case here. But what I do think is this is an opportunity not just for him, but for the Phillies.
Well, and Jeff, the Phillies need a high leverage guy. I'm not suggesting that. Why not try him out? But you're right. He has pitched only in the bullpen for this year and generally in high leverage situations. Now you're going to ask him to pitch in a spot that he really hasn't performed in before, a lower leverage bullpen situation.
Yeah, and Don Mattingly expressed, look, we got Kerkering, we got Bolin, so we don't it's not like you're asking Alex McFarland to come in the eighth inning and get an out for you. That could happen, but you got Christopher Sanchez today, right? What if he goes 7 innings? Are we going to see Alex McFarland pitch? Depends on the score, right?
You're right. And the question would be, do the Phillies look at him as a possible solution or just a stopgap?
I think right now it's a stopgap. I think in the long run it could be a solution, but I just think they're maneuvering right now with this fifth starter because they don't have to go through that turn in the rotation this week because of the off day. They only really have to use the fifth starter one more time. And Oscar and I talked about this on Phillies Weekly last night. What do you do with that fifth starter for 2 weeks? And we were calculating. It's like, oh, you only got to do it one time. So. Yeah, I think this is a way for Alex McFarland. I'm not saying he's going to be up here the whole week, but I could see him being up here a couple days. But it's up to him now.
Well, let's talk about the fifth spot in the rotation. And Don Mattingly spoke on that a little while ago. What kind of vibe are you getting on Alan Rangel and the fifth spot? He is scheduled to pitch, I think, on Saturday against the Yankees.
Yeah, he is. Maybe he goes one more turn, or maybe they get creative with the bullpen game. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, right, Mike? I just feel like at this time, I think you're going to play it by ear. I don't know if it's going to be Rangel or not. I mean, yesterday he seemed like non-committal, but committal to it's not going to be Alan Rangel the next time, his next turn. So, I mean, maybe by then they trade for a fifth starter.
That would be very interesting because we all have seen these numbers of what their record is against teams when the fifth starter throws the top three. They're 50 and 25, 25 games over 500, Jeff, when the top four guys go. They're 5 and 20 when everybody else goes. And I guess you tweeted out something I think about Andrew Painter. It doesn't seem like he's in the cards either here.
No, he's not. I mean, look, we don't even know right now if when Andrew Painter's making his next start, unless I got the game notes from Lehigh in the last 20 minutes. No, I won't get that because they're off today. So really, the earliest Andrew Painter can pitch, Mike, is Tuesday, and I really don't know when his turn in the rotation will be there. He hasn't pitched since July 10th. They're getting in that extended break. It could be tomorrow, the 21st. That would make sense because then he would get 11 days, but they really could give him more time. Like, you have that flexibility.
By the way, Jeff Kerr is live at the ballpark. Don Mattingly said they have talked about skipping the fifth spot because they do have an off day, which means they could possibly not worry about this till down the road. But, Jeff, I guess the question off that would be, you keep losing when the fifth starter pitches, but how high of a priority is that with the other issues that this team has? Do you have to get someone who's not really going to help out the playoff team, but you need help to get to the playoffs?
You know what? It's funny, right, Mike? Because you probably need that fifth star to get you to October. And we talked about this a couple years ago. Remember when they had their issues with Taijuan Walker in the fifth star spot? It's like, you can't really roll this guy out of here all the time. And I kept saying, look, this is why I think this is a really good team, because they're 25, 30 games over 500. And, okay, it's only the fifth star. It's September. Well, now you're in a playoff race. You're battling for a division. You're battling for a wild card spot. I think you need to get that fifth star, and I think you need to get that left-handed reliever. I would still go after the pitching probably more than anything else, even though there are other needs, and they need to improve this offense.
Well, that's the thing, is can McFarland at least be one of those fixes? That's why I wonder if this is
I think he can.
now.
I think he can. That's
okay,
my personal.
I was going to ask you. You've seen McFarland pitch, but before we get to that, it's July 20th. You have about 13 days to find out whether or not you're saying, hey, we'll give you 13 days to prove to us. I mean, that's not really fair to the kid, but that's why I wonder if this is more of a tryout almost than it is, hey, you're up here keeping the seat warm.
Yeah, and I think it's too. He's on the 40-man. He's shown he can get lefties out. That's one thing they wanted to see. They wanted to see his command improve. He's done that. He's done pretty much everything you've asked him to do in Double-A. My only concern was, why don't you raise him up to Triple-A and get him accustomed to the Major League Baseball? As you know, the seams are different in Double-A baseball compared to the Triple-A baseball, which is what they use for the Major League. So that's what I'm concerned about, how he's going to handle that. Now, he says he's fine. He said it feels a little bit looser. So we'll see. But, yeah, in a way, Mike, it kind of feels like 3 years ago with Johan Rojas, right? This was the time Johan Rojas was going to bring him up, and I kept making the joke, oh, they're just bringing him up because they're going to trade him, right? And it never happened. He actually ended up being here and being a huge part of why they went to the postseason and why they went to the NLCS. Everybody remembers his postseason, but we'll seem to forget Johan Rojas played a huge role for this team down the stretch.
No question about it. The fact that Rojas, that first year, people forget. We were laughing. I mean, the guy hit like almost 300 with like a 3-something on base percentage. And then, of course, in the playoffs, he absolutely was overmatched and stuff.
Yeah.
But
it always felt like a fluky 300, but he did help you.
He did, and he was a tremendous center fielder for the team in terms of defensively. By the way, Gabriel Rincona's playing right field tonight, which means Derek Hill not in the lineup. And you wonder, that's the other thing. Are they going to look to upgrade that right field situation?
This is what I think is interesting, right? And I like Gabriel Rincona's. I just think they've been asking him to kind of just hold the fort for the last 6-7 weeks, and he's kind of done that, right? I didn't expect much from him. I didn't think he was ready to come up at the time, and he's kind of holding his own. I'm not holding anything against him for it. I think Justin Crawford hanging against lefties has really helped this team. I think Derek Hill doing what he's doing has really helped this team. So, do you need a bat? Yes. If you're asking me, do I think they need a bat? Yes, but I just don't know what you give up to do that, right? Are you willing to part ways with the Gage Warrior? Are you going to get creative and reshape your current roster to do this? That's where I don't envy Dave Dombrowski right now.
No, and I know the Phillies are certainly trying to search around to find, can we get a right-handed bat? Can we maybe get a left-handed bat to upgrade over Rincona's? Then you throw in the Keller news. So, hey, now we got to call up McFarland. Tell us about McFarland. You've seen him throw in person a couple of times.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was actually, I just saw him on Saturday. I watched him pitch, was talking to him, and look, he threw a 101-mile-per-hour sinker. Like I know he can throw his sinker 98, 99, but his uptick in velocity has been really something amazing. He said it's just him going through his routine, and he admitted to me today, like after his Tommy John surgery, I thought maybe that was where he got the uptick, and he said no, it actually went down, and he said probably because he fits in the cold weather, but he said he's been sticking to his routine. The big thing for him is he knows he has to stay patient and breathe. Like, try not to do everything a million miles per hour, right? Just kind of let the game come to him. And he's really done that over the past couple of weeks. And I know he's given up a couple runs during that stretch, but he's been a better pitcher, right? Sometimes it's not all about the stats. It's how you feel on the mound. He's felt pretty good, and he's thrown a 102-mile-per-hour fastball, 101-mile-per-hour sinker. He's consistently getting the 100. He threw 8 pitches in the hundreds 2 weeks ago. So, he's ready for this moment. He's got the stuff.
I was going to say, do you think he is ready to make that jump over AAA and come up here and I'm not saying pitch in the 8th inning and be the main setup man, but be a part of a playoff bullpen?
Yeah. I mean, what better test than against the Dodgers, right? Can you imagine if he would face let's look at who's in the lineup for the Dodgers tonight, right? Freddie Freeman, for example. Can you imagine him trying to get him out, a Shohei Ohtani, a Mookie Betts? I mean, even the Teoscar Hernandez, right? These guys are good major league players, and
really good.
And this dude he's going to face tonight. So, it's trial by fire, right? I say throw him in there and let him do it. I mean, he's got the demeanor for it. He doesn't seem to be overwhelmed by anything. I mean, I also asked him today about, you got the major league stuff, right? So, how frustrating is it for you when you're down AA and you're good enough to be up here? And he's like, you just go out there and pitch. He said he always tries to simplify everything. Just go out there and throw the ball. And, it's just him. It's just him versus the hitter. I think that's what's really helped him over the last year and a half, ever since he's come back from Tommy John.
By the way, there are some reports that Brian De La Cruz is getting called up as well. Nothing official there, but that would create an interesting who stays, who goes 40-man spot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, is that for Brad Keller's spot? Because Brad Keller hasn't been placed on 60-day IL yet. Maybe that's the way. Maybe that's how they're going to handle it. So, but you can get creative with Brad Keller later too, when you have to deal with the 5th starter. And I'm curious to see how they use that Brad Keller roster spot.
No doubt. Well, and by the way, I did not get an email yet. There are some reports that are on the X platform there about Brian De La Cruz. We'll see what they end up doing there. Yeah.
And this is an off day, so it's hard to find out anything from the minor leagues these days.
Right, but that would be a right-handed bat who has been pretty good in the last, we talked about him way back on early Phillies fastball, but he has had a nice little stretch of about 15 or 20 games here where he would give you some right-handed pop. I wonder if they're trying to find a way. We talked about this earlier, getting Sosa out of left field, so maybe Stott needs a day off there, here or there. You need someone for that.
Yeah, and I think that's hurt them in a way, right? As much as Bryce Harper wants to say Bryson Stott's an everyday player, do the numbers dictate that? I would have to look up his numbers against lefties again. But, yeah, you're right. If you have Mundo Sosa back in the infield, maybe that helps Alec Boehm out. Maybe that helps Trey Turner out. It's just to get him back in the infield, I think, improves the depth of your team, which I don't think they have a lot of right now.
All right, live at Citizens Bank Park, Jeff Kerr. Hey, Jeff Kerr, what do you think of the Phillies Field of Dream uniform?
Yeah. I love them. I love the hats.
Wow.
I'm a fan. I love their old 30s jersey. It's funny. I have an old Mitchell and Ness shirt that I got years and years ago, right? And what I liked about it was the blue and yellow colors. So that's really old school.
All right.
It's that same font, too.
I like the color scheme. I feel like the font is like bunched together for some reason. It looked a little awkward, but I like the navy blue.
It looks like something from the 30s, right? And I kind of like the gray. Would you bring this back like after this game, like for next year? Would you kind of add that to the rotation?
If it would mean I'd get out of those City Connect Friday night ones, 1,000%.
Well, there's going to be new City Connects, I think. That's what I would think.
Okay, yeah. Well, the ones that they have now.
Yeah. Let's do our uniform power rankings, Mike. Where do you rank the Phillies uniforms?
I like the road gray. I'm not a big fan of the red.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them too. Honestly, the road grays. I like them.
I like the road gray. I'm not a huge fan of red pinstripes. I just something about the red.
Even though that's been like their uniform forever.
Yeah, I
essentially.
know. I definitely would say the gray roads, probably the baby blue Thursdays.
The powder blues, yeah.
The powder blues, yep. The powder blues. I guess the home whites. The cream ones do they still even wear those?
Yeah, oh yeah, they wear them on Sundays. They wear them on Sundays and any day game that's not a Thursday. So I love the cream uniforms. They've been my favorites for a long time.
I would go with them over the white pinstripe reds, and then definitively last are the City Connects.
Well, remember the cream jerseys, they were the first alternate. I'm like, oh, they look like a throwback. And I remember they came out, they were like the early years of Richie Ashburn. That's what they wore.
And, originally they wore blue hats with those, and then they kind of ditched the blue hats and blue helmets. But
they still have them. They still wear the blue hats.
Do they? How come I don't feel like I remember them wearing the blue hats recently?
They've even
they wore the blue helmets. They wore the blue helmets. They don't wear the blue helmets anymore.
No, they still wear the blue helmet. Remember when they started, it was the red helmets, and then they got a blue helmet for them to match it.
Gotcha. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
What they got rid of was the interleague cap with the blue bill and the star between the P.
That's
remember
right.
That one?
All right. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. But the blue Friday night City Connects, they are the worst of the worst. They are the worst City Connect in all of baseball, and there's some bad ones.
I've noticed it's a generational thing because my friends' grandkids, they love the City Connects. That's all they wear. The kids love them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm a crotchety old man on this one.
Jeff
Kerr,
I don't hate them. I'll say that. I like the hat. I like the bell hat. I will say that.
I like navy better than I like royal blue. It's just that navy and yellow just doesn't fit the Phillies.
Yeah. It's weird, right? Because we're so used to the Phillies being certain colors, and in this one, they're not.
All right, Jeff Kerr live at the ballpark with an update. Alex McFarland is up for the Phillies. We'll see if he gets into a game of more Phillies fastball tomorrow here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, man.
Yep, I'll see you, Mike.
All right, Jeff Kerr there. Oscar will be back tomorrow for Phillies fastball here on the Sports Bash. And, of course, our Phillies fastball segment is always brought to you by Ventnor Social. Ventnor Social, the place to go for every Phillies game, including tonight's game against the Dodgers. You can check out all the Phillies all season at Ventnor Social to catch all the Phillies games. And we will be there next Wednesday for a Phillies Day Game watch party. And if you stop out, you could win a trip to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Stop out. You must be present to win. Next Wednesday, Ventnor Social, our day game watch party with the Sports Bash. All right, we'll wrap up the show. Coming up next. All right, 5:53, getting ready to get out of here. I had this thought today. If your post starts with, I normally never make a post like this, but don't post it. Everyone has their own experiences. Maybe you just had a bad one or a good one. Not everyone's experience will be the same. And therefore, I don't want to hear about your crappy experience at some restaurant and ruin the reputation of the restaurant. Let me have my own bad experience, and then I can formulate my own opinion. The more you know.
Nice.
I am like, I don't need to hear about, I don't normally post this, but I went to this place and I got crappy service. You know what? Grow up. You're going to get crappy service from time to time. I don't need you telling people about your crappy service to ruin the reputation of a place that maybe had a bad day, or that guy had a bad day, or that girl had a bad day. Keep it to yourself.
So what do you do with the person who does the opposite, who goes out of their way to tell you about the great service they had?
Don't need to hear it. You know why? Because sometimes I might go and I say, man, so-and-so posted that they had really good service. And then I go and I get subpar service. And then that makes me feel like, oh, it wasn't as good as so-and-so said. You know what?
So you're basically anti-reviews.
I don't need the review. I don't normally post this, but I don't normally need to listen to anything you say. But keep it to yourself. The more you know. You like that one, huh?
I can't wait to read this thing. You guys show me this. What you're talking about?
I don't know. I see this way too much. People complain, oh, this place, I went there and they blah, blah, blah. And that place, I went there and my sandwich was. Grow up. You don't need to post it on social media that you had a bad experience at a mom and pop shop. My Lord. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.